Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. The Great Voyage of the People. Unlock the Dreadnought Battleship at the beginning. Chapter 41. The two stared at each other in embarrassment for a long time, and finally came to their senses under the reminder of the adjutant beside them. Master Admiral, and Chen Yang. Yes, Mr. Chen Yang, let's leave Kirishima first, more pirates will appear here at any time. Only then did Chen Yang react, and he suddenly realized that something was wrong with this sea area. Although the sky is clear, it can only be seen tens of kilometers away. The entire sea area seemed to be wrapped in a layer of fog. Looking up, the sun was also blurred like frosted glass. What exactly is this place? Grayland, the girl with two ponytails on the opposite side, finally spoke. Grayland, what's that? One of the top 10 mysterious sea areas in the Four Seas region of the Endless Sea. It is said that the treasure of a legendary ancient fleet is buried in the gray area. Whoever can find the treasure is enough to dominate the world. The treasure of the ancient fleet. Four Seas. The more Chen Yang listened, the more confused he became. Not only did he know nothing about the Endless Sea, he also had a half-knowledge. The Four Seas are the initial sea of the Endless Sea, also known as the Shallow Sea area, which is divided into four seas, southeast, north, and west, and it is also the place where all newcomers gather. 99,999 novice areas surround the four seas. You don't think there are only four seas, but the four seas are vast. Many people have never been able to travel all over the four seas in their entire lives. It is extremely vast. What about beyond the four seas? Beyond the four seas, there are gray fields, silent seas, and windless belts. Through dangerous and mysterious ancient routes, you can enter the depths of the Endless Sea. It is said that there are endless resources and treasures there, and the gathering of heroes is magnificent. One day, I will reach there too. What about the depths of the Endless Sea? Why do you have so many questions? I'm not curious. You are a rookie who hasn't even come out of the novice area, why do you think so much? Don't aim too high. The girl patted Chen Yang on the shoulder, and said earnestly in the tone of educating the younger generation. Only then did they take the lead, bypass Chen Yang, and walk to the coast to meet their destroyer. I really doubt if you are a reincarnated person who returned to the novice area from the depths of the Endless Sea to pretend to be a pig and eat a tiger. The girl muttered, I'm really not. I'm from Blue Star. I arrived a month ago. When you contacted me, I was still in the novice area. By the way, do you know the Blue Star Voyager? Chen Yang asked expectantly. I don't know if my friends and relatives have come to the Endless Sea. I don't know, the Gray Domain is isolated from the world, and only the special line of the Business Alliance can occasionally get through, otherwise I wouldn't be stuck here for so long. The girl glared at Chen Yang. The meaning seems to be saying, are you exposing my scars? To be honest, Chen Yang never expected that the old bird with whom he had exchanged information for so long was actually a girl of 16 or 17. Around 160, no matter how you look at it, you are not very old. Xiao Chao's face was covered with dust, which made her look quite embarrassed. Except for one adjutant, there were only less than 100 sailors left. Stepping onto Chen Yang's boat swaggeringly, the girl looked left and right, touched left and right, and felt curious everywhere. What kind of ship is this? Destroyer. Destroyer. What is it for? Chen Yang scratched his head. Aren't you a navigator? You don't even know a destroyer. How? How is it possible? My mother is also the admiral of the fleet after all, and the three fleets under her command, how could she not know each other? When he said this, he obviously lacked confidence. Speaking of admiral, how old are you this year? Faced with Chen Yang's teasing question, the girl swore that if it hadn't been for this guy who just saved her life, it would have been for these giant monsters of nearly 30,000 tons on the sea. She will definitely jump up and give this guy Chen Yang 2 bang-bang punches. 30. Have it. No, it will be 17 after this month. Girl shakes her fist. Oh, Chen Yang's oh sound dragged the old man. You, as my mercenary, dare to tease Admiral Ben. Little six, go up and beat him. The adjutant at the side looked at Chen Yang in embarrassment, and then glanced at the dark muzzle of the gun next to him. He hurriedly ran to the girl and handed him a towel. You. She gave the adjutant a hard look. Chen Yang clapped his hands. Okay, if there is nothing else, I will go back first. The Sea of Storms is about to open, and I have to go back to prepare for the battle. Etc. The girl stopped in front of Chen Yang. What's wrong? You can't go. Chen Yang looked playfully at the girl who wiped her face clean and revealed her original appearance. Not to mention, she looks pretty. Big clear eyes, melon-seeded face, and small cherry mouth, like a young lotus, emerges from the mud without being stained. It's just the body. Chen Yang feels comparable to the deck of the Enterprise. Why can't I go? Didn't I complete the task? Chen Yang turned around. Remember to deposit the money in my account. In addition, if necessary, I can sell you a sailing warship, which is much better than your small raft. Chen Yang, the girl yelled. Faced with Chen Yang's puzzled expression, she changed her expression several times and gritted her teeth. Aren't you curious about the legendary treasures in the Grey Domain? I'm not curious. Seeing how embarrassed you are, this so-called treasure must be hard to find. Chen Yang expressed no interest. Next second, the girl directly stopped in front of him. People can go, but these battleships stay. What, you still want to snatch my battleship? Chen Yang frowned. In the next second, 10 giants in front of the sea came and slowly turned the fort. No. Don't get me wrong, I'm just kidding. Borrow, okay. A 180-degree turn of the girl's attitude. No borrowing. I mortgage, how about I mortgage one of my fleet? I have 3 fleets, each with at least 10,000 ironclad ships. There are also many 10,000-ton heavy ironclad ships. Chen Yang pointed to the Koenig-class battleship on the sea. The Koenig-class battleship has 5 305mm 50 caliber main guns in twin mounts and 14,150mm 45 caliber single-mounted guns. Side armor 350mm, speed 21 knots. Give me 100,000 ironclad ships and not change them. At this time, they were already close to Chen Yang's flagship, and climbed onto the battleship following the falling gangway. Standing on the deck, both the girl and the adjutant were shocked by the full main gun battleship in front of them. Curiously touched the slender 305mm gun barrel of the King's 50 times the diameter. The girl stared at the stars. Although her strongest ironclad ship also has a 305mm main gun, how can the single 25 caliber main gun be compared with these tall and mighty dual-mounted main turrets? It is not a product of an era at all. Hey, don't drop Hotazi on my deck. Chen Yang reminded. He thought that the enemy on the other side was so powerful, but he didn't expect that there were only dozens of heavy ironclad ships. After the first battle, except for the slight damage to the first battleship, which was scratched, it was almost a one-sided advantage. Chen Yang, sell me one. Just one. The girl almost didn't climb up to hold the barrel of the main gun. Not for sale. Are you kidding me? This is my main force, how can I sell it? Stingy, have you forgotten how much useful information I gave you earlier? That's a fair deal. Do not. The girl rushed over and hugged Chen Yang's arm. What do you think of me? To marry me home, as long as 100 of these King-class ships are enough as a dowry. Chen Yang has black lines all over his head. You're pinching my arm. The girl's eyes widened. You. Brat, don't be ignorant. My old lady is also the admiral of the fleet. Besides, the girl puffed up her chest. Where is it small? Where is it small? At last, the girl hugged Chen Yang's thigh. Wow, don't go, I finally came to the gray area. This time, in order to find the treasure, my fleet didn't dare to take it with me, so a small ironclad ship sneaked in. In the end, I was attacked by pirates. I was blocked on this island for more than a month, eating dirt every day. Please pity me. The girl hugged Chen Yang's thigh and cried loudly. Chen Yang's brain hurts, he cried, made troubles and hanged himself. Why are women in any world the same? I don't do business at a loss. Do you know how much these warships cost to drive? If I didn't look at the face you once helped me, I wouldn't bother to come here to help you. After finishing speaking, Chen Yang turned his head. Yo, still a Tsunere. The girl grinned. How about this, you help me find the treasure, and I will pay for all your consumption. After finding the treasure, we will share it 30 to 70. 30% to 70%. You only get 30%. How embarrassing. Chen Yang rubbed his hands together. The girl's eyes widened. I'll go, why are you so thick-skinned? I'm 7 and you 3. Ah, what? It's windy, I can't hear it. 6/4. The girl gritted her teeth. I'm leaving, I have to go back to dinner. 5/5, 5 and 5 elements. That's what you said. A gentleman. She stretched out her right hand. Are you a gentleman? Is it okay for a girl? She wished she could rush up and bite Chen Yang's ear. A4 horse is hard to catch. The two held hands. Happy cooperation. Only 3 days. In 3 days, I have to go back to find the base island. Okay, 3 days is 3 days. The girl breathed a sigh of relief, and finally stabilized the guy. She swears that in the whole world, she can't find a newcomer who is stronger and has more potential than this guy in front of her. If you don't grab it quickly, you will be sorry for your conscience. As for Chen Yang, of course, it is impossible to stay because of the girl's words, but because. Ding, the system task is released. The treasure in the gray domain. Treasures in the Ashland. To find the legendary treasure in the Greyfield, the time limit is 3 days. Task reward. Roar of the Super Dreadnought era. Start the pre-quest of the Super Dreadnought Battleship. Technology points. 6 points, a random cruiser. Chen Yang started asking the system how to unlock the Super Dreadnought Battleship as early as a month ago. But every time, the system prevaricates them on the grounds that they need to complete special tasks. Now, he finally saw the dawn of the opening of the Super Dreadnought class battleship. Fearless is fearless after all, and it is the beginning of the era of giant cannon ships. Only when we enter the era of ultra fearless, the era of giant cannon ships ruling the ocean will really come. System prompt. This task is not mandatory, and the host can decide whether to accept it or not. System warning. Once the mission fails, the next Super Dreadnought Battleship pre-mission will be cooled for 3 years. Faced with system reminders and warnings, Chen Yang also hesitated for a long time. In the end, he made a firm decision to accept the task. The so-called seeking wealth and wealth, starving the timid to death, and supporting the bold to death. Although there is a 3-year postponement of punishment after failure, Chen Yang understands that the endless sea is like sailing against the current. If you do not advance, you will retreat. He has no sense of adventure, just like the 7 fleets in the Blue Sea, huddled in the small novice area, and the fool is called the king. For decades, it has only accumulated a few hundred ironclad ships. The girl in front of her has 3 major fleets, and each fleet has at least tens of thousands of ironclad ships. So, Chen Yang intends to fight. Accept the mission. Voice just fell. System hint. The host mission is completed. The countdown, 3 days. Chen Yang took a deep breath. For 3 days, the vast ocean was really a severe challenge. He turned around and looked at the girl who was looking up at the king. About the treasure, I think we need to talk about it. Half an hour later, before the chart, Chen Yang and the girl in front of him looked at each other in dismay. So, you dare to go to the gray area alone to hunt for treasure with just a fragmented map? Why, can't it? One residual map is not enough. You must know that in the endless sea, many people will go to find out even if it is just hearsay. What if we find it? Faced with the girl's natural self-confidence, Chen Yang's head bulged. He suddenly regretted that he didn't investigate thoroughly before accepting the task. This task may be suspended. I may have to find a way to wait for 3 years, and wait for the next Super Dreadnought Battleship pre-mission to start. And, don't worry, after all, if you don't succeed in the treasure hunt, there will be another time. Hearing this, Chen Yang wanted to cry, but he only had one chance in 3 years. 3 years, whether it is long or not, can be said to be short or not. The advantages that I have finally established may be gone after 3 years. After all, there are quite a few blue stars who know how to build warships. 3 years later, even if these people built a dreadnought, they would not find it strange. My advantage lies in the system. Once the system is pulled, the situation is not good. To stabilize his emotions, Chen Yang stared at the incomplete treasure map in front of him, but only a quarter of it could not piece together a complete route. The gray area is dangerous, not only pirates, but also various mysterious sea monsters and man-eating monsters. This is not a good place. Countless voyagers die in Ashland every year. She was able to enter the gray domain with an ironclad ship, and it was not easy to survive until now. Wait, I have a question. What's wrong? The girl looked at Chen Yang with bright eyes. Why did these pirates trap you for so long? Why didn't they come to the island? The girl pointed to the bunker where she hid before on the island. One is because I spent all the nautical coins on my body to buy 3 280mm coastal defense guns. After I sank 2 pirate ships, they didn't dare to approach them. The second is probably that I am too beautiful. These pirates covet my beauty and want to do something indescribable to me. A black line penetrated Chen Yang's forehead. What pirate would be interested in a tablet like yours? Certainly, Chen Yang didn't dare to say this. Otherwise, she would have to jump up and hit her forehead. No, these pirates may have other plans. Chen Yang walked up to the unconscious pirate leader in 2 steps. Pointing to the ragged captain of the pirates, "Wake him up." A basin of cold water was poured directly over it, and the captain of the pirates woke up instantly. Look up. It was Chen Yang and the girl who had been besieged by him for a month. Looking down, his limbs were locked and he couldn't move. If you want to kill, you have to do whatever you want. If you frown, I won't be called Jinlong. Golden Dragon. Chen Yang looked at the girl. Didn't the pirates of the Endless Sea be refreshed? Why do they still have names? The pirates that were refreshed in the Endless Sea are only part of the huge group of pirates. There are also voyagers who voluntarily joined the pirate camp, and many descendants of voyagers born in the Endless Sea will also join the pirate camp. Looking at his appearance, he should be a descendant of the voyager. Talking. The girl peeled off the opponent's collar, and could clearly see a small gray imprint of waves on the opponent's chest. This is the imprint of the Endless Sea, and it is not unusual for newborns born in the Endless Sea to carry it. Chen Yang subconsciously looked towards the girl's neckline. What are you doing? The girl clutched her chest vigilantly. Chen Yang turned his head. Golden Dragon, right. Ask you a question, answer truthfully, and I can let you go. Jin Long's eyes widened, as if provocative. Tell me, why was she besieged for a month? Jin Long didn't speak, even closed his eyes. Chen Yang grinned. Sure enough. There is an old saying in my hometown that those who know the current affairs are the best. You don't have to cooperate, but I have 10,000 ways to make you speak. If you have the ability to kill me, I won't say anything. Jin Long growled, with a bit of backbone. Chen Yang has no expression on his face. Just to remind you, there is a doctor who is a chef on my boat. He can cut the most delicious fish meat before it dies, and he can also ensure that the fish does not die. After cutting 999 knives in this way, the fish is only left with movable fish bones. This kind of fish bone stew is the best. Do you want to try it? Voice just fell. Suddenly a sailor dressed as a cook rushed out. Report to the captain commander. Sailor number 1542 is reporting to you. I heard that you want to eat sashimi. Wait, I said. Jinlong collapsed. What sashimi? Is this about slicing yourself into sashimi? Chen Yang and the girl looked at each other with a look of satisfaction on their faces. It's because I detected a fragment of a treasure map in her hand. In order not to damage the fragment of the treasure map, I led a pirate group to besiege the island. As long as she is trapped to death, the treasure map fragment will be mine. Hey, you fool, you actually want to trap me to death. The girl was about to rush forward and punch him twice, but was pulled back by Chen Yang. Golden Dragon, let me ask you, where are the fragments of your treasure map? In my base camp, Sea Demon Island, about 200 nautical miles away from here. Take us there, now. Now, do you want sashimi? No, I'll take you there. Jinlong collapsed. How dare he disobey Chen Yang? This guy is horrible. As a pirate myself, I'm not as scary as this guy. Chen Yang turned around satisfied, and told the cook, cook some good dishes, I want to entertain guests. Yes, soon. The fleet began to move towards the goal. King's Hospitality Restaurant. Jinlong sat upright, didn't dare to make mistakes, looked around carefully. This giant ship is really luxurious. Booming vibrations under the feet, feeling the majestic mechanical power. Such a huge ship can run at a speed of 25 knots. This young captain probably has some special speed bonus talent. Chen Yang is still studying the incomplete treasure map, comparing it with a gray map from time to time. At this time, a scent of fragrance came through the door. After taking a shower, the girl walked into the restaurant with knee-length hair, as if she had changed into a different person. Cold, elegant, full of aristocratic atmosphere. Pair it with this crisp white dress. Like a little princess walking out of a fairy tale. Chen Yang pointed to the gray wave marks on her shoulder blades. Isn't it strange to come from outside? The girl rolled her eyes, held up her skirt, and sat down opposite Chen Yang. Chen Yang thinks about it too. How can he become the admiral of the fleet at the age of 16? Chen Yang clapped his hands, and the chef brought fresh delicacies to the table, which made people salivate. Then I won't be polite. The girl picked up the knife and fork and began to enjoy the food. The golden dragon on the opposite side also swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Let's eat, it's just a common meal, you're welcome. Chen Yang laughed. Is this still commonplace? Jinlong widened his eyes. I couldn't bear it any longer, and began to stuff a piece of pork chop into my mouth, chewing heavily, and my mouth was full of oil. Delicious, delicious, I haven't eaten such delicious pork chops for more than 10 years as a pirate, woo woo woo. While eating, the captain of the pirates in front of him started to cry, extremely wrong. You are a pirate leader who does all kinds of evil, and you have the nerve to cry. The girl despised. Why can't I cry? Although I am the captain of the pirates, I built all my ships by mining the resource island myself. Even if I rob, I basically only grab supplies and don't hurt people. Then you have besieged me for so long. I just want to wait for you to starve to death before I go up to get the treasure map. Who knows that you have more than 100 people, and you have survived for more than a month. Where did you get the food? Jin Long looked aggrieved. The girl subconsciously glanced at Chen Yang. If it wasn't for him, she and her subordinates would have starved to death long ago. It was really a wise move for me to leave this cross-domain connection opportunity to Chen Yang. Otherwise, there is probably only one skeleton left sitting here. Chen Yang, who was drinking a drink, recalled. Since the two of you who have the treasure map are here, does it prove that the treasure is nearby? That's right, Jinlong generously admitted. I came here 3 years ago. Unfortunately, because the treasure map is missing, I haven't been able to find the exact location. Later, I set up a base camp on Grey Demon Island, intending to search all the thousands of nautical miles of Fangyuan, and I can always find it. Then did you find it? The girl asked back. Jin Long put down the pork chop in his hand. No. By the way, how did you sense the other treasure map? Chen Yang asked. It is this. I saw Jin Long take out a black stone like obsidian. Well, I was able to get the fragment of the treasure map because of its induction. I suspect that the treasure map has some kind of special connection with this stone. Chen Yang picked up the stone and placed it in front of the girl's treasure map fragment. Sure enough, the stone shimmered, twinkling. The treasure map should be made of some special material, and this material will make you, the stone, feel. So, the entrance to the treasure should also be related to this stone. By the way, how far is the sensing distance of this stone? Up to 3 kilometers. Chen Yang understood. Such a small sensing distance. How easy is it to find a small entrance in the gray area surrounded by thick fog thousands of miles away in Fangyuan? When we get another treasure map, we should be able to narrow down the scope and find the treasure place faster. When he said this, the eyes of the girl on the opposite side lit up. Chen Yang knocked on the table and looked at Jinlong. How about this? I will take out half of the harvest. As long as I find the treasure, I will share half of it with you. Really? Jinlong jumped up all of a sudden. Of course, I do what I say, and I am the most honest person. The girl on the opposite side snorted and muttered stupidly. Sea Devil Island is not really an island. It can only be described as a reef. When the tide falls, the sea falls, revealing an island hundreds of meters wide. When the tide is high, the sea water submerges the island, leaving only small reefs. So, Jinlong used steel frames to support the suspended stilt houses here, which can barely be regarded as a base. Unfortunately, when I came back this time, there was not a single ship left, and the pirates were wiped out. At this time, there are only some old, weak, sick and disabled left in the base, which looks quite bleak. Jinlong obediently went to get the fragment of the treasure map. His picture should be number 2. Just when Jinlong returned to Grey Demon Island. On the deck, Chen Yang stood side by side with the girl. The endless sea is really a cruel place, and there is no place for pirates to settle down. Chen Yang sighed. The girl looked back at Chen Yang. You chosen ones came to the endless sea and were born navigators, but the people born in the endless sea are different. It is not so easy for them to become navigators. It's not just as simple as obtaining a ship, it also needs to pass the strict assessment of the administrator of the endless sea, and the mortality rate exceeds 60%. This is the endless sea. Although many people are unwilling to endure such a life, the world doesn't give them many choices. Chen Yang looked back at her. Aren't you lucky? Hearing this, she was suddenly a little annoyed. What do you know? Chen Yang raised his hands in surrender. By the way, I haven't asked your name yet. Call me Bingxia. Is this your real name? You guess. The girl's sly smile made Chen Yang curl his lips. I don't mind calling me Lord Admiral. Whispering sound. Hello, what's your attitude? In our Beihai, I'm a respectable person anyway, okay. Talking. She leaned over and put a hand on Chen Yang's shoulder. I will cover you when you come to the endless sea. If you have any trouble, please mention my name. I promise it will be useful. I can be trapped by pirates on the island and almost starved to death. I think I am more reliable. Hey, you fool, don't tell anyone's fault, okay. When the two were arguing, Jin Long had already rowed back. He held the half-piece in his hand. Master Chen Yang, I found it. Come on. Chen Yang beckoned, and he couldn't wait to climb onto the huge ship, ran to Chen Yang in a hurry, and offered his hands. Master Chen Yang, this is the fragment of the treasure map, please have a look. Chen Yang held up the fragment and pieced it together with another fragment. These fragments were not torn from one map, but superimposed sea maps. Only a part of each map was drawn, and all the maps were superimposed together to obtain the most accurate treasure map. But, at this time, the two pictures are very clear, and the range is directly reduced to several hundred nautical miles in Fang Yuan. It's not good, hundreds of nautical miles, even a carpet search is not easy to find, and it seems that the entrance is definitely on the bottom of the sea. The girl on the side had a headache. Don't worry, I have a solution. With Chen Yang's order, the two U-2A submarines slowly floated to the surface. Submarine, the girl Bing Xia exclaimed. You know submarines. Of course, many people in the four seas study this thing, but it's not very practical, the voyage is short, and the diving depth is limited. Jin Long next to him opened his eyes. Who is this young man next to him? There is a fleet composed of giant steel ships, as well as submarines sneaking in the water. Not to mention those small ships that easily ran 40 knots. This fleet is both offensive and defensive. Chen Yang clicked on the system interface. System, customize 10 sets of underwater sonar. The underwater sonar technology researched before has already been unlocked, and now it is just in use. Sonar can be used not only to listen to submarines, but also to detect submarine terrain. The system has accepted the order, and the manufacturing time is estimated to be 30 minutes. Chen Yang believes that with the help of sonar, the speed of finding the treasure entrance will be greatly accelerated. Half an hour later, several people watched as the mysterious Chen Yang ordered 10 sets of sonar equipment to be moved out of the battleship warehouse. Then put them on those high-speed destroyers. What is this? Sonar, a device that can detect the marine environment, uses the principle of echolocation to confirm the structure and situation of the seabed. Can I have a set? 100 billion nautical coins. Why don't you go grab it? How can you make money by selling equipment for robbery? Miss, I have a blueprint of a super battleship here, do you want to consider it? Super warship, stronger than your warships. Chen Yang shook his head. Of course it's impossible, but it must be much stronger than the ironclad ships in your fleet. Let me see. Chen Yang took the opportunity to show a blueprint of a former Dreadnought. Sovereign-class pre-Dreadnought Battleship. The empire on which the sun never sets. 1891 shipbuilding plan. Displacement, 14,380 tons. Length, 125.1 meters. Width, 22.9 meters. Draft, 8.4 meters. Full load. Boiler, 8 single-head cylinder steam boilers. Power, 11,000 horsepower. Speed, 16.5 knots. Endurance, 4,720 nautical miles at 10 knots. Armament, 4 single-mounted 343 mm 30 caliber guns. 10 single 152 mm 26 caliber guns. 10 57 mm guns. 12 47 mm rapid-fire guns. 7,457 mm underwater torpedo tubes. Steel armor. 356 mm on sides, 64 mm on deck. Gun mount 279 mm, conning tower 305 mm. Crew. 670 people. Well known. With the rapid development of the ironclad ship era, from the first-generation ironclad ship with a wooden skin wrapped with a layer of iron armor to the later peak all-steel ironclad ship. The age of the ironclad came to an end in 1888. At that time, the most powerful sea power country in the world, the empire on which the sun never sets, began to build a new type of warship to replace the previous ironclad ships. It is made of all steel, completely cancels sail assistance, uses full steam power, has a larger caliber main gun, larger tonnage, and more advanced technologies. The secondary main gun has evolved, and the main gun is no longer located at the bow and stern, but along the central axis of the hull. This kind of battleship is the Sovereign-class pre-Dreadnought Battleship. The appearance of the former Fearless has also attracted countries to imitate. Although compared with the epic-making Dreadnought battleships, the former Dreadnought class is not enough in terms of the number of main guns and the diameter of the main guns, but it marks the arrival of a new era. At this time, the girl Bingxia looked at the blueprint in her hand with amazement. What ship is this? Sovereign-class battleship, also known as the former Dreadnought battleship. Why is it called Fearless? Because it is the most powerful battleship before the appearance of the Dreadnought-class battleship, and it serves as a link between the past and the future. The girl pointed to the conning under her feet. This is the Dreadnought-class battleship. That's right. The gap is a bit big, half the tonnage. But you have to admit, it's stronger than the most powerful ironclad, isn't it? She stared at the drawings, thoughtful. Both the layout and the artillery configuration are indeed very reasonable. Although there are some crazy guys in the endless sea, they built ironclad ships to be very large, with 50,000 tons, 60,000 tons, or even an exaggerated 100,000 tons. But it has almost lost its power. It is equivalent to a floating fortress on the water. It can only be beaten passively. Chen Yang grinned. Building a battleship is not a fortress. Powerful artillery, thick armor, and sensitive speed are all essential. Otherwise, if they swim towards you from a distance and shoot at you, they will sink to the bottom of the sea in a short time. The girl agrees. Grinning, he was about to put away the blueprint. Thank you for your blueprint, I will accept it. Unexpectedly, the drawing was taken back by Chen Yang in the next second. The drawings are for sale. How can there be a free lunch in the world? Isn't it enough for me to share half of your treasure? 1 yard is worth 1 yard. I deserve half of it. Without my fleet, how do you want to find the treasure? The girl stared at Chen Yang with a displeased face. This guy is simply a profiteer with a smirk on his face all the time. Tell me, how do you sell it? 20%. You want 20% of my treasure for just one picture? Dreaming. I'm selling technology. I'll get you as many blueprints as you want in the future. What's your cost price? It's about the same, half of it, it can't be higher. 10%. 10%. That's it. If there is more, I won't buy it. Make a deal. Chen Yang handed out the blueprints, making her teeth itch. By the way, I still have some new ships. Ah, what are you talking about? I can't hear it, the wind is so strong, I know. The girl ran away covering her ears, for fear that Chen Yang would take the opportunity to sell her something again. Afraid that I can't control it, if I lose another 10% of the treasure, wouldn't it be a loss? The girl ran far away. Chen Yang looked back at the bewildered Jinlong. A profiteer's smile flashed across his face. Golden Dragon, right, do you want a chance to become bigger and stronger and reach the top? Ah, Jinlong was stunned. After nearly 10 hours of dragnet searching, 10 high-speed destroyers compressed the range to less than a few tens of nautical miles. After scanning back and forth with sonar many times, I finally found the clue. Report to the captain and commander. It is just ahead. As long as the sonar passes through that sea area, it will lose its response. Lost response. Go and have a look. When the huge fleet is moored 100 meters away in this sea area, the seawater here seems to be extraordinarily deep. Submarine, go down and have a look. Chen Yang commanded a submarine to start a dive investigation. The average water depth in this sea area is about 130 meters. The U-2A submarine was just within reach. Soon, the submarine sent back a message that the sea area was like a black hole of sound, and the sonar could not detect anything. Several people looked at the treasure map for a long time, and they were very sure that the treasure should be here. Chen Yang said, "Now it has been confirmed, the entrance is here, and the seabed is about 130 meters. How do we get down in such a deep water?" Jin Long beside him couldn't help asking. He knew very well that it was absolutely impossible for ordinary people to dive to a depth of 130 meters. "I'll go down and have a look." With that said, Chen Yang began to take off the coat on himself. "Hey, are you crazy? That's more than 100 meters deep sea water, and it's even deeper below." Chen Yang pointed to the badge on his chest. The girl froze for a moment, then exclaimed, "Is this the badge of the Predator?" Voice just fell. The submarine that had just dived into the water had returned, and amidst the bubbling bubbles, the gray submarine jumped back to the surface. "That's right, the Predator badge, what's so special about it? You should have it too." Chen Yang said as a matter of course. "You big-headed ghost, do you know how difficult it is to obtain the Predator badge? Isn't it just that you can get more than 1 million units of resources by plundering them at once?" Hearing what Chen Yang said, the girl couldn't help but grabbed him by the collar. Obtaining the looter badge requires 2 conditions. First, 1 million units of resource looting at one time. Second, it is limited to the novice area. 1 million units of resources, although not a large number in the Endless Sea, but it is a huge number in the novice area. Those who can get the Predator badge are the best of the newcomers. The person who is destined to make big waves in the Endless Sea in the future. Her eyes widened, she gritted her teeth and said, "So, you plundered 1 million units of resources in the novice area?" Chen Yang scratched his nose. "Just a while ago. You profiteer, I'll sell you information, 3 or 5 units of food, and you still keep searching with me. I'm going to bite you to death." Chen Yang hurriedly pinned the crazy girl's forehead to prevent her from getting close. "Selling your food comes first, and looting comes later. You can't blame me for that." Then quickly asked a dozen sailors to stop her. With a guilty conscience, he retreated to the back and opened the Predator Trading Network. "I was a little nervous when using the Predator Trading Network for the first time. Search deep water diving suits." Chen Yang searches for diving suits in the search bar. In the next second, a long product column appeared in front of him. All iron marine diving suit, weighing 200 kilograms, with a maximum diving depth of 70 meters, price, 500,000 nautical coins. Just sell 500,000 for this junk thing. Why don't you grab it? Steel deep sea diving suit, weighing 300 kilograms, equipped with small thrusters, the maximum diving depth is 100 meters, price, 1.2 million nautical coins. This piece was also directly passed by Chen Yang. The commodity column is directly pulled down, and the diving suit he needs is at least 150 meters deep to ensure a surplus. Finally, he took a fancy to a silver-white deep-sea diving suit. Alloy atmospheric pressure deep-sea diving suit, weighing 300 kilograms, equipped with simple life support devices and small propellers, the maximum diving depth is 160 meters, price, 2 million nautical coins. Expensive as expensive, but worth it. Without hesitation, Chen Yang placed an order for 3 sets. Soon after the payment was made, the transaction network successfully located Chen Yang. Let Chen Yang lament the power of the Predator's trading network, who can quickly find himself in the gray area where even the business alliance is difficult to locate. It can be seen that this Predator trading network is stronger than the business alliance trading. 3 minutes later, the black portal slowly opened, sending out several large boxes over 2 meters long. "What's this?" The girl who calmed down couldn't help leaning over. Chen Yang is very satisfied, the seller is very reliable, and the packaging is very good. Open the box. Inside lay a heavy all-alloy deep-sea diving suit. "Dear me, what's the use of this iron armor?" Jin Long exclaimed. "Deep-sea diving suits, a set of 2 million nautical coins. If you want, I'll sell them to you with a 10% discount." "I want, sell me a set then." The girl's eyes light up. "Don't you have a 5-star black card for the business alliance? Doesn't the business alliance have one? What a fart, I can only buy things within the 4 seas. Your Predator trading network can cover the entire Endless Sea." The girl's eyes were full of envy and jealousy. Only then did Chen Yang realize how precious his predator badge was. He took out the hundreds of kilograms of diving suit directly, and this scene shocked several people again. You pervert, why are you so strong? Predator badge, comes with all attributes plus 10. Girl, golden dragon, long time, only 2 words popped out of their mouths, pervert. Jinlong felt that Chen Yang alone could kill his pirate group. Come, I'll help you get dressed first. Chen Yang can lift hundreds of kilograms with ease, but for them, 5 or 6 sailors are needed to help. As a reminder, the diving suit provides a 12-hour life support system at a time, so everyone pay attention to the time and prepare to retreat. The girl pursed her lips. I will never come back until I find the treasure. After putting on the diving suit, they were sent into the sea by the hoist, and then began to dive continuously. The 300-kilogram alloy can become light after entering the water. Because of the buoyancy and tension of the water, the body weight of the diving suit is only a few kilograms. Everyone follow me and sneak towards the target. The 3 are connected to each other by a rope. Then keep diving. After reaching a depth of 100 meters, the water was already very dark. Turn on the lights. The lights come on to illuminate the water ahead. Look, it's just ahead. On the radio, a girl's voice rang out. She excitedly swam towards a shipwreck area ahead, but was dragged back by Chen Yang. There are water monsters. Chen Yang pointed to the marine life wandering in the shipwreck area in front of him. They looked weird, like sharks with tentacles and scales. Moreover, the front area was blocked by the sunken ship, and the so-called entrance could not be seen clearly at all. What should I do? Bing Xia was anxious and afraid. Go up, I'll clean it up with depth charges. Boom boom boom. 10 destroyers kept dropping depth charges into this sea area, bombing back and forth repeatedly. Depth charge attacks mainly rely on strong water pressure. The strong shock and strong water pressure generated in an instant can cause huge damage to surrounding targets. When hundreds of large depth charges exploded on the seabed at a depth of 130 meters, one could clearly see that the sunken ships were crushed to pieces. I have a bad feeling, why are there so many sunken ships here? And they are all sailing warships. Jin Long spoke in fear. As long as you talk nonsense, this treasure has been passed down for so many years. Naturally, some people have found the target point. They are just unlucky. Look at our warships, why worry about accidents? The girl couldn't listen to these cowardly words, and wished she could go into the water to find out. Soon, when the bottom of the sea begins to stop, several people went into the water again, and this time it was Chen Yang who took the lead. When they re-entered this sea area, the previous sunken ship had already been blown to pieces. Even saw the broken corpse of the water monster. Landing on a smooth sea, stomping his feet, Chen Yang could even hear the sound of metal clashing. Look down. The corals that had previously covered this sea area were all emptied by depth charges, revealing its original appearance. Ding! The distant sonar sound of the destroyer was stirring on the bottom of the sea. Have you found anything? Report to the captain commander, there is no reflection signal from the sonar. Chen Yang was shocked, the sonar didn't respond to such a large piece of metal underneath. The only possibility is that this piece of metal can absorb all sonar echoes. Chen Yang took out his compass, and the pointer of the compass rotated wildly, which proved that the magnetic field here was a mess. The other 2 fell beside him, all looking in amazement at the cleaned-up underwater world. Why is the bottom of the sea so bare? Jin Long asked curiously. Chen Yang swam up and then observed carefully. The line of sight began to extend, and a huge silhouette began to appear. I have an immature idea. What's wrong? I suspect that this seabed is a sunken giant ruin. The other 2 hurried upstream and came to Chen Yang's position. I don't know if I don't see it, but I was shocked when I saw it. How can I say that the center of the treasure map is a square shape? I thought. The girl couldn't help but say, that huge square is the ruin itself. Jin Long took over the words. No wonder the average water depth in the surrounding sea area is 1,000 meters, but here is only more than 100 meters. Could it be that this big square is it? Chen Yang nodded. The length and width are more than 3 kilometers, and the thickness is more than 1,000 meters. This thing is a hole. Everyone was shocked. The endless sea has countless mysteries, but it is also the first time they have seen such a huge underwater ruins. Can you find the entrance? The girl is most concerned about this now. Chen Yong took out the black stone in the diving suit. If my guess is correct, this thing can guide us in the direction of the entrance. He observed the movement of the black stone. The closer to the bottom, the brighter the flash. Then, he began to swim, flashing at different rates in each direction. Golden Dragon, where did you get this thing? Among the sunken ships, the ship is at least 70 or 80 years old. Is it in this gray field? That's right, I also discovered the edge of the gray area by accident. Chen Yong grinned. That's right, that sunken ship should also be one of the treasure hunters. If my guess is correct, the sunken ship you found has a circular pattern on it, right? That's right, my lord, how do you know? Because the sunken ship here just now has similar marks, I think they should be in the same group. It's just that I don't know what happened, which caused these treasure hunters to suffer heavy casualties. The last ship also collapsed on the edge of the gray field in exhaustion and sank into the sea. Several people were stunned when they heard this. The girl said, "Your reasoning seems to make sense. I heard my grandfather tell the story of a group of treasure hunters at sea. They experienced 9 deaths and searched for the legendary treasure, but ended in failure. In the end, only a few escaped and ascended to heaven. In the past, I just thought it was a legend, until I found this fragment of a treasure map among my grandfather's relics." Chen Yong landed on a raised piece of metal and tapped it. It was made of an unknown alloy, and it was black. That's right, someone once found this place, but it was just an accident. Then Jin Long hesitated. If you are afraid of death, go back. Of course, I will get half of your achievements. The girl said with a smile. Jin Long quickly shook his head, fearing that half of his share would be taken away. I found it. After searching for about half an hour. Chen Yang's surprised voice came. Where? The two hurried over. I saw Chen Yang pointing to a large hole that was pried open by something. It should have been the hatch to enter the steel ruins before, but it was opened artificially at this time. All kinds of shells and marine life gather, turning this place into a breeding ground for underwater creatures. The light shines in, and the interior is extremely deep, and the end cannot be seen at a glance. By the way, there won't be any monsters in the bottom of the sea, right? If you talk nonsense again, I'll tear your mouth apart. Several people have sneaked into the ruins along the passage. Through the long passage, Chen Yong looked at the huge space inside in shock. It's a pity that it was completely submerged by seawater, and sunk in this seawater for an unknown number of years. System, the ruins have been found. Can you remind me where the treasure is? Ding. The system found a hyperspace model. Please head to the core of the ruins as soon as possible. What? Before Chen Yong could react, everything around him began to change. Turn back sharply. The two who had been following him just now disappeared. Immediately afterwards, the surrounding channels continued to change. Dazzling, like hallucinations from eating poisonous mushrooms. Looking down, the black stone hanging on the chest was flickering crazily. Bing Sha, Jinlong, Chen Yong knocked on the radio communication, leaving only chaotic rustling. System, what's going on? System prompt. Please follow the navigation, you are about to enter the Klein space. What? Chen Yong was in a daze. Suddenly, the surrounding space began to change wildly. In an instant, he was pulled into a cold space covered with metal pillars. Before he could react, the surroundings continued to change. This time, I entered a golden treasure room with mountains of ancient gold coins inside. He looked up, seeing a golden dragon swimming in like a demon. Haha, treasure, treasure, a lot of treasure. Hey, don't go there, this space is weird. Chen Yong grabbed a handful of gold coins and threw them towards the golden dragon. But the flying distance of coins in the water is really limited. Just about to rush over and grab Jinlong. Buzz. The surrounding space continues to change. There was a weird gurgling sound. Chen Yong turned his head suddenly, and he saw a terrifying octopus sea monster like a hill staring at him. Depend on. With a low growl, Chen Yong tried his best to stay away. Countless greasy tentacles struck and surged. Chen Yong subconsciously took out the pirate captain's gun. Summons 5 pirate helpers. The pirate had just been summoned, and before he had time to react, he was grabbed and dragged away by those tentacles. Chen Yong seized the opportunity, quickly took out the diving auxiliary thruster, activated the switch, and fled with all his might. A terrifying roar came from behind. The sound is especially harsh in the sea water. Turning around, pointing the firecracker in his hand, a sailing battleship appeared out of thin air, blocking the remaining tentacles. As a result, Chen Yang discovered that the sea monster's tentacles penetrated the battleship and continued to attack him. Fight! Suddenly, he took out a mine from the system space and threw it with all his might. The mine flew out and was instantly entangled by the tentacles. Next second, boom! The violent explosion tore apart the sea monster's tentacles. The swelling water pressure and explosion made Chen Yang want to die. The whole person flew far away uncontrollably. Fortunately, the distance is far enough, and the sea monster's tentacles can resist most of the explosions, otherwise he will die. With the world spinning, Chen Yang felt that he was flying far away. The surrounding space is constantly changing. What the hell is this place? Suddenly, he broke into a space, and he saw the girl Bingxia. Or even someone else. In the mysterious space, several treasure hunters in steel diving suits are slowly exploring. The girl Bingxia stared blankly at those treasure hunters. Chen Yang stretched out his hand, trying to grab her. Only to find that one was caught empty. Shadow. Chen Yang was shocked. System, what is going on? The Klein bottle in the ruins is collapsing, and the space is in chaos. Please find the hyperspace core as soon as possible. What the hell? I'm still in the era of sailing warships, so how did it involve the Klein bottle in the four-dimensional space? Just vaguely remember Chen Yang's superficial space knowledge. In the field of mathematics, Klein bottle refers to a non-directional plane, such as a two-dimensional plane. There is no distinction between inside and outside. In topology, an unorientable topological space. A Klein bottle is a non-orientable 2D compact manifold, while a sphere or tire surface is an orientable 2D compact manifold. Legend has it that a Klein bottle the size of an apple can hold the water of an entire planet. It is a special form that does not exist in the three-dimensional world. But at this time, Chen Yang just fell into the Klein hyperspace without space boundary. Inside the entire ruins is a mysterious Klein bottle. System, can you guide me? System prompt. The gravity stone in the host's hand can stabilize the space and find the location of the Klein bottle. The little rock in my hand. Chen Yang looked at the small stone on his chest. At this time, the small stone was like a black hole, and the surrounding light shrank crazily to the inside. At the same time, there is light shining through, which is very mysterious. Adjusting the direction, Chen Yang observed the brightness of the light shining on the stone. When reaching a certain direction, the light is brighter. This way, Chen Yang turned on his horsepower and strived to go deeper. Fine. The water pressure here is isolated from the outside world, otherwise he would have been crushed into a meatloaf long ago. The surrounding space is constantly changing, like a dream, but under the stability of the mysterious gravity stone in his hand, the front boundary is twisted so that he can always pass through it. I don't know how long it took, when a ray of light appeared in front of him. He enters a huge circular underwater space. It looks like the core power room of a ship. The intricate structure dazzled Chen Yang. The space on both sides of the circle bends inwards and finally converges on that point. Chen Yang tried his best to swim forward, but found that he couldn't move. What's the situation? Why didn't you move? He felt that the diving suit and diving auxiliary thrusters on his body seemed to be stuck with passive things. Surrounded by water, it made it impossible for the equipment on his body to move forward. Fortunately, the body can still move. The force of restraint has no effect on the human body. Fight. Bite on the portable respirator. Chen Yang directly got out of the diving suit and plunged into the water. Strong water pressure hit. If the body hadn't been strengthened 10 times by the badge, the lungs would have been crushed already. Can't stop now. Hold on to that rock and push forward. In front of him, he saw a constantly changing Klein bottle among the cubes that were about to break. That thing doesn't seem to exist in the three-dimensional world. It's transparent, and it's amazing. The system is handed over to you. Chen Yang struggled to catch the target. The moment Chen Yang touched the cube, countless streams of data flickered in front of his eyes. In the system fusion hyperspace core. 1% progress. I don't know how long. When Chen Yang opened his eyes again, he took a deep breath. What happened? Why did I return to the place before I set off? Look back. The girls Bingxia and Jin Long both looked confused. What just happened? I seem to have seen the treasure house, and there are mountains of ancient gold coins inside. Jin Long said. I saw my grandfather when he was young. He was exploring in this ruins with a group of people I didn't know. Chen Yong looked down. The black stone on his neck had lost its luster, no longer shining. Hallucination. But it was too real. System, was it just an illusion? The system is in the process of merging the hyperspace core. It cannot be opened within the next 3 days, and the ruins are about to collapse. Please leave the ruins as soon as possible. Not a hallucination. Now that the system has spoken, everything that has just been experienced is not an illusion. Chen Yong was in a daze when Jinlong's surprised voice came over the radio. Ha ha ha, let me just say, there are treasures below. The golden dragon pointed to a mountain of ancient gold coins piled up in a portal. Ha ha ha, get rich, get rich. The girl swam in excitedly, pulling the gold coins with both hands. Seawater cannot corrode gold coins. Even after so many years, the gold coins inside the warehouse are still golden and have clear patterns. Jin Long picked up a handful of gold coins, his eyes gleaming. Gululu. A strange voice came. Did you hear anything? Don't care what his voice is, hurry up and load the gold coins, you are the only one who can use the main ship space here. The girl urged Chen Yong. Chen Yong put his right hand on these gold coins and hurriedly collected them. He didn't know how many of these gold coins were, but they filled the whole warehouse anyway. Chen Yang's expression changed suddenly when the grunting sound got closer and closer. No, hurry up, it's a sea monster. He remembered the octopus and sea monster he had seen in the changing space before. It was so powerful and scary that non-human beings could fight against it. What? Sea monster? Chen Yong grabbed the two of them and ran out. The thrusters of the diving suit turned to the maximum. Bang! At this time, the thick walls are pierced by tentacles with spiked tips. Countless tentacles with fangs and claws attacked. Oh my god, monster! The golden dragon howled and swam towards the ruins. Just now, still glowing, the incomparably hard metal wall was easily penetrated like a rotten mud wall. Is it because the mysterious core was taken away by the system? Chen Yong guessed. Look up. The front passage is rapidly decaying, as if it has experienced thousands of years of seawater erosion in an instant. In a short period of time it began to be taken over by rust, as if it could shatter at the slightest touch. Behind, tentacles with fangs and claws came through the wall. In the depths of the deep sea, scarlet and terrifying eyes can be vaguely seen. It's the legendary sea monster Zoomet. The girl exclaimed. Zoomet, the name of the big octopus. Chen Yong turned around and threw thousands of units of wood from the space of the main ship directly, blocking the passage behind him, trying to block the sea monster's pursuit. A large amount of wood was really useful, blocking Zoomet's tentacles for a short time, giving them time to rush out of the ruins. Quick, grab the life lock. Chen Yong roared. Ahead, in the sea water, there was a lifeline that they had untied when they dived. Several people panicked and grabbed the lifeline. At this time, the solid wall of the ruins below was suddenly penetrated, and a large number of thick tentacles struck. At this time, the traction comes, the motor runs, and they are dragged away from the tiger's mouth. Depth charge, quick, throw a depth charge. The moment Chen Yong and the others were pulled out of the water by the lifeline, Chen Yong immediately yelled. The destroyer, which had been prepared for a long time, frantically sent heavy depth charges into the sea water. Boom boom boom. Explosions continued to ring out from the bottom of the sea, accompanied by the sea monster Zoomet's painful cry, and the sound of creaking and tearing underwater. Chen Yong knew that the ruins were about to collapse. The shock in the water lasted for several minutes. When the fleet left 4 nautical miles, the water level here collapsed suddenly, forming a huge vortex, which took 5 minutes to gradually dissipate. Finished. Jin Long patted his chest with lingering fear. You are the only one for such a cowardly pirate. The girl sneered, and then leaned in front of Chen Yong. Hurry up, share the treasure. I didn't expect this treasure hunt to go so smoothly. With a wave of Chen Yang's right hand, a mountain of ancient gold coins piled up on the wide deck. Under the sun, the golden light is shining and dazzling. So many gold coins. It must be hundreds of thousands. Jin Long was amazed. It should be more than 1 million. The girl looked a little abnormal. 1.2 million gold coins to be precise. Chen Yong grinned, revealing a mouthful of big white teeth. So much. If it wasn't for the monster rushing out, there would still be a small part that could not be taken away. It is estimated that the total number exceeds 1.5 million. Jin Long's eyes were straightened. Speaking of which, how much are so many gold coins worth? Chen Yang picks up a gold coin, according to my information. A long time ago, the Endless Sea used gold, silver and copper coins instead of alloy-made navigation coins. Then why didn't you use it later? Jin Long expressed his interest in this. Of course it is because gold, silver and copper resources are scarce, so it is not suitable for large-scale promotion. As there were more and more navigators, the administrator later changed the currency rules and converted the value of the smallest unit, that is, copper coins, into 1 nautical coin. 1 nautical coin equals 1 copper coin. That's right, 1 silver coin can be exchanged for 100 copper coins, and 1 gold coin can be exchanged for 100 silver coins, so the conversion. 1 gold coin can be exchanged for 10,000 navigation coins. Jin Long hurriedly replied. He stared. The 1 and 2 million gold coins here are equivalent to 1 billion. 12 billion navigation coins, Chen Yang said directly. My God, 12 billion nautical coins, it's developed. Jin Long shouted excitedly. 1/10, 1.2 billion, and then divided by 2, that is to say, here are 600 million navigation coins that belong to me. When Jin Long fell into a carnival, Bingxia quickly calmed down, couldn't help frowning, and stared at the pile of gold coins. Grandpa fell here for 12 billion nautical coins. I don't believe it. As she said that, she rushed to the side of the boat, with the urge to jump off with one step. Chen Yang grabbed her tightly. What are you going to do? I don't believe that there are only these gold coins in the ruins. How could Grandpa be so obsessed with these gold coins that he went here several times regardless of the danger? Faced with the girl who suddenly lost control of her emotions, Chen Yang was a little caught off guard. Which side did she go wrong? But when you think about it, her family is rich, and there are 3 fleets under the fleet, each with more than 10,000 ironclad ships, and a mere 12 billion navigation coins, which is really unreasonable. Could it be for that hyperspace core? Or is there another picture? The submarine sent back information that the ruins have completely collapsed, and the water depth below has returned to an average depth of several thousand meters. Are you going to die? Chen Yang stopped her. The girl stood on the side of the boat for a long time, lost in thought. Here, Chen Yang divided up the gold coins and directly allocated 60,000 gold coins to the Golden Dragon. Is this for me? It's the startup capital for you, allowing you to restart the pirate group, plus the blueprint I gave you. I believe it will not be long before you can become the overlord of the world. These words made the excited Jinlong kneel on the ground. Master Chen Yang, I, Jinlong, wish to follow you in this life. If I have 2 hearts, I will be loathed by the sea and destroyed by heaven and earth. Jinlong's move stunned Chen Yang. Are you sure you want to follow me? Wouldn't it be nice to be a free pirate? He smiled playfully. Jinlong nodded again and again, then shook his head frantically. The little one used to be short-sighted, arrogant, and didn't know the heights of the sky and the earth. After meeting an adult, I realized that the Golden Dragon is willing to follow you forever. Jinlong did not hesitate to swear a heavy oath, and the oaths he swears facing the ocean in the Endless Sea will be recorded by the administrator. If there is any violation, the punishment may really be the fate of both humans and gods. Being in the ocean and being hated by the ocean will naturally end badly. Chen Yang thought for a while. He is now in the Blue Sea and is about to reach the Endless Sea. He has no foundation in the Endless Sea, and he really needs someone to help him find his way. Although the Golden Dragon in front of him is a pirate, he is not bad and worth cultivating. In this case, I will give you a chance, 3 months, 3 months to expand your pirate group to more than 100 warships. As long as you can succeed, I will invite you to join my big ship group. Really? Jin Long looked excited, a man of his words. Jin Long quickly lowered his head. Thank you, Mr. Chen Yang. Chen Yang waved his hand and walked to the girl. At least I got part of the treasure, didn't I? These nautical coins are enough for you to arm a powerful sovereign-class fleet. What else is there to be satisfied with? The girl glanced at him. I'm sad, don't come here to disturb the situation, okay? Chen Yang smiled. Maybe the truth is completely different from what you imagined. When you go back this time, remember to keep in touch. Don't worry, I will sell you the blueprint of the battleship at a cost price, and I will never treat you badly. You have a conscience. Just hours after Chen Yang's fleet left the ruins. Heritage Center. The sea water suddenly began to roll, and the bubbles rose. Immediately after, the sea waves surged, and the entire sea area turned into a huge steamer, boiling all the sea water within the range. Countless sea fish died and floated up. A huge vortex formed, sucking all the dead sea fish around into the vortex. Sudden, the legendary sea monster Zumit rushed out of the gradually calming vortex in horror. With teeth and claws, it is at least 200 meters long. However, the next second, the pupils of its eyes shrank sharply, and its body was involuntarily dragged into the sea by something. The sea water was tumbling, and the black liquid penetrated the sea surface. I do not know how long it has been. When everything is calm, a huge gray boat slowly floated up from the water. The hull seems to have been soaked in seawater for thousands of years, and is covered by aquatic organisms such as corals, conch, and seashells. This is a wooden sailing warship as large as a mountain. A wooden sailing warship with a displacement of 50,000 tons, even in the endless sea. I am afraid that not many people are willing to build such a large sailing warship. The ghostly gray ship began to tremble. The seashells and conchs on the deck rustled and fell into the sea. The huge sail fell down, dilapidated, exuding a stale atmosphere. The whole ship was deserted, but slowly moved by itself. Under the hull, slimy octopus tentacles rushed out. After careful observation, the tentacles were exactly the same as the tentacles of the legendary sea monster Zumit. Tentacles with fangs and claws sprouted from the hull, and then more tentacles grew from the hull. Gray scales grew rapidly on the hull, and a weird eyeball opened inside the cabin, which was extremely weird. Gray mist spread out around it, binding it together with the thick fog in the gray area. Immediately after, more identical gray ships gushed out of the water, densely packed, at least hundreds of them. A chaotic voice sounded, low and deep, like the ravings of an evil god. It's been 10,000 years, and I've been suppressed for 10,000 years, but so what? After all, you can't escape the end of destruction, endless sea. Are you ready to welcome the gray ship era again? The dense fog filled the air, and the sound was like a dream. As the fog spread, the sound disappeared, as if it had never appeared before. At the same time, Gray Devil Island. Feeling this, Chen Yang suddenly turned his head and looked at the thick fog behind him. What's wrong? The girl asked. For some reason, I always have a bad premonition, as if I'm being targeted by something. Hey, brat, don't scare Admiral Ben. The girl punched Chen Yang on the shoulder, but her right hand was sore from the shock. Like an iron plate. Okay, let's go here. The Admiral has to go back. My fleet is fighting with the Kingdom of Luotian. This time they must pay a price. Here, Golden Dragon is also preparing to bid farewell to Chen Yang. Chen Yang lent each of them a V-type destroyer, and returned it after leaving the gray area. Master Chen Yang, the Golden Dragon will definitely live up to the entrustment and the trust you have placed in me. Chen Yang patted him on the shoulder. Do well, I am optimistic about you. Talking. The blue portal in front of the fleet has reopened and slowly expanded. Obviously the time limit for the mercenaries to stay has come. Chen Yang waved at the two people on the destroyer, then drove into the portal without looking back, and disappeared in front of the two. Until the blue portal disappears. The girl slapped her thigh fiercely. Oops, I forgot to ask this guy to get the black card back. Lord Bingxia, do you need a little escort to escort you? Jinlong asked in a pissed way. HMPH, I won't kill you, it's for Chen Yang's sake. When you leave the gray area, you'd better pray that you don't touch me, otherwise. HMPH. The girl grabbed her right hand and clenched her fist tightly. Jinlong shivered subconsciously. Don't dare, dare not. The two destroyers parted ways, each chose a direction, and disappeared into the billowing fog. Hours later, suddenly, the sea surged up on the big gray devil island, like a terrifying monster rushing out from the bottom of the sea, swallowing the stilt houses on the gray devil island. Countless tentacles with fangs and claws grabbed everything that could be swallowed and stuffed it into the mouth of the big gray boat with its mouth wide open. At last, this weird big ship stayed in the sea area where the portal disappeared for a long time, and finally left slowly, hidden in the gray mist. Blue waters. As the last battleship sailed out of the portal, the blue gate shrank suddenly. Chen Yong took a deep breath, still familiar with the smell of the blue sea breeze, without the gloomy and oppressive feeling in the gray area. Ahead, several V-type destroyers are coming towards us. Welcome back, Commander. Welcome back, sir. Far away. On the King-class battleship, an old man and a young man were waving vigorously at him. Only then did Chen Yong notice that the surrounding wind was sunny and the waves were calm. There are many more sailing warships in the distance. White goose feathers are generally spread on the sea surface. He is very sure that he has not teleported to other places. Looking back, the stormy sea with strong winds and waves seems to have changed its appearance, waiting for the navigator to enter. At this time, the voice of the administrator of the endless sea sounded. Attention all navigators in the Blue Sea area, the Sea of Storms will open in 5 hours, and a large number of resource islands will be refreshed at that time. There may be a base island. All navigators, please be prepared. It seems that I came back just right. Joining the fleet, the little girl rushed over first, pulling his clothes up and down to check. Like a little butler, he put his hands on his hips and nodded in satisfaction, then turned around and gave a standard naval salute to Orf. Report to Admiral Orf, the commander is in good condition, no missing arms or legs. Black lines penetrated Chen Yang's forehead, directly giving the girl a headache. She clutched her little head in pain, and quickly hid behind Orf. The captain is beating someone. Chen Yang smiled helplessly and looked at Orf. How long have I been there? A whole week. Chen Yang frowned. Could it be that the time in the gray zone is different from the time in the blue sea zone? Orf didn't understand what that meant. Chen Yang didn't hide anything, and told about his general experience in the gray domain. The little girl beside him was dumbfounded. Of course, Chen Yang concealed information about the hyperspace core in the Klein bottle, which was his trump card. 1.2 million gold coins. 12 billion nautical coins. Little Green's tiny head has already started to heat up, unable to function properly. After counting on my fingers for a long time, I still can't count. Actually, it's only 6.6 billion nautical coins, half of which was shared by others. That's 6.6 billion. I don't even have more than 5,000. Here, Orf said with a smile. In short, it's good to be back on time. By the way, old man, what's the situation with those guys over there? He pointed to the sailing warships in the distance, always keeping a distance of about 10 nautical miles. It's the navigators of the Blue Sea. They want to take the opportunity to get close, but they dare not get close, so they just follow behind us. In the past week, hundreds of thousands have gathered at least. So much, isn't that right? Mr. is now the #1 news figure in the Azure Sea territory. Anyone who sees him can't come here to flatter him. The little green next to him sighed. Chen Yang shook his head. It's just a bunch of scumbags, he doesn't care at all. By the way, leader, there are many newcomers from Blue Star who want to join our big ship group. I haven't replied, and I will wait for the leader to come back to make a decision. In the past 2 months, how has the development of the newcomers been? Chen Yang asked back. Many people have developed well. The Aeotian fleet has joined the Moon fleet, and now there is a small group leader who can control the tens of thousands of newcomers who joined the Moon fleet. It can be regarded as prosperity. The sun never sets. Edward has gathered a lot of people. Recently, through plundering tactics, he has annexed many small boat regiments. Now he is also a force that should not be underestimated. In the north, there is also the Freedom Fleet alliance formed by the navigators of the Lighthouse country. Today, there are also 50,000 people, and they are well known. There are other scattered Blue Star voyagers who are basically scattered throughout the Blue Sea, and there are also some well-known risers. Chen Yang nodded, not surprised. Many of the navigators who came from Blue Star were the pioneers of sea power countries, and it was only natural that they did well in the Blue Sea. Here, Orf hesitated to speak. What's the matter? Just tell me if there is any situation. It's like this. Didn't we have a team of Blue Star voyagers who followed us before? They haven't been doing well recently. Since we destroyed the White Pine Fleet's Qingshui Island fleet last time and ransacked Qingshui Island, this guy Baisong couldn't find us, so he took his anger out on these newcomers. Many newcomers suffered, and many died. Snapped. Chen Yang slapped the table with a slap. Well, he's an old dog, Bai Song, and he won't go to Fang Jawa for 3 days. Beside, Xiaolu became excited. Is there going to be a war? Can I command the battleship? Chen Yang flicked his head again. The little girl in pain yelled. At this time, my brain is pumped to find the old dog Bai Song to fight for my life. Orf next to him was thoughtful. Does the leader have a plan? I saw Chen Yang waved his right hand. Old man, help me contact some leaders of newcomer forces, and say that I have a deal to discuss with them. Orf was taken aback. Commander, are you trying to borrow a knife to kill someone? Hey, don't say it so badly. We are now focusing on the base island in the Sea of Storms, so we don't have time to fight outside with the old dog Bai Song, dirtying my hands. I'll do it now. Orf left in a hurry, dragging the little girl away by the way. Here, Chen Yang's mind sank into the system, and there were 6 hours left in the estimated upgrade time. It can be seen that the speed of time in the ruins is indeed different from that in the Blue Sea. Place an order first, and then order 70 King-class battleships, 150 V-type destroyers, and 20 U-2A-type submarines. Chen Yang prepares for a possible encounter in the Sea of Storms. If the 7 great fleets work together to deal with him, these 100 Dreadnought-class battleships are guaranteed to make his enemies unable to eat. Even if the 7 fleets have their own ghosts, I have to guard against the siege of the White Pine Fleet and the Lakawa Fleet. Then, Chen Yang opened the Marauder trading network to buy shells and coal from here. The war is imminent, and it is impossible to have a gun without ammunition. Chen Yang rushed into the Predator trading network and first bought coal and shells worth 1 billion navigation coins. Chapter 51. About 3 hours before the opening of the Azure Sea, the teleconferencing system Chen Yang bought at the Predator Mall pulled all the new representatives into the virtual meeting room. I have to say that this thing is pretty easy to use. It can be connected to the Endless Sea World channel, select the target name, and perform a remote conference after obtaining the consent of the other party. A total of 10 people. Many of them were old acquaintances. Aocean, Edward, Lucia, etc., are all navigators who fought side by side in the newcomer period. Everyone was observing the gap in the virtual meeting room in amazement when Chen Yang appeared. All eyes instantly focused on Chen Yang. There was a burst of flattery. Whether those who like him or those who hate him, with his current reputation, Chen Yang is indeed worthy of the title of Rookie King. So in front of him, everyone still showed due respect. I don't know why Mr. Chen Yang pulled us into this meeting room at the critical moment when the Sea of Storms is about to open. Aocean asked. Mr. Chen Yang, the Sea of Storms is about to open, and everyone is preparing for it. What's the matter? Can it be said that it will not work in the future? Edward asked back carelessly. Others had their own complaints. Obviously they came here to save face for Chen Yang, not to make friends. Still smiling, Chen Yang pressed his hands together. I have a question for you all. As soon as these words came out, everyone quieted down and returned to their positions. Mr. Chen Yang, but it's okay to say. Everyone, as newcomers, this time the Sea of Storms has opened, how many of you are confident that you can get enough resources, even the legendary base island? This. Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay. Chen Yang pointed with his right hand, and the translucent blue screen disappeared in midair. The above lists the details of all the fleets of the big and powerful forces in the Blue Sea. Opened the mouth and said. The Azure Fleet ranked number 1 has the largest number of people, with hundreds of thousands of navigators. There are more than 50,000 first-level and second-level sailing warships, which is 1/3 more than the more than 30,000 ships of the White Pine Fleet. There are nearly 400 ironclad ships. Combat power is definitely a well-deserved number 1 in the entire Blue Sea. Even if it is ranked second, the White Pine Fleet, which I have severely weakened, still has more than 20,000 first-level and second-level sailing warships. There are nearly 200 ironclad ships. Even weakened, its combat effectiveness is almost the same as that of the third-ranked Black Dragon Fleet. The 4th and 5th place Moon Fleet and the Redbeard Fleet are similar in strength. It has more than 10,000 advanced sailing warships and nearly 100 ironclad warships. The 6th-ranked Lakawa Fleet is slightly weaker, and it is only behind the 5th. The Morning Star Fleet, which is the last one, has more than 9,000 advanced sailing warships and more than 50 ironclad warships. The strength is the weakest, but it is also much stronger than the strongest large fleet. This is the hard power of the 7 great fleets. Let's talk about us newcomers. Adding up all the newcomers, there are no more than 1,000 first and second level sailing warships, and most of them are still wandering on 4th and 5th level sailing warships. It seems that there are many people, but basically they are all mobs. Quote, although these words are ugly, everyone has to admit it. This is reality. They have only been in the Azure Sea territory for more than 2 months, and they can be considered excellent if they can develop to the current level. After all, there is only one Chen Yang in the entire Azure Sea. Mr. Chen Yang, what do you mean? Not everyone is like you. The dozens of Dreadnought-class battleships under your command are simply the overlords of this blue sea. Of course you don't need to worry about the pressure of these veteran fleets, but we are different. The revenge of the White Pine Fleet these days has caused us heavy losses. Lucia, the outspoken female leader, stood up and said. The implication is obvious, it is unreasonable for us newcomers to bear the troubles caused by you, Chen Yang. It's just that everyone was frightened by Chen Yang's strength, so they dared not speak up. I saw Chen Yang clapping his hands at everyone. Everyone, I'm really sorry, it's my fault, Chen Yang, that I've hurt everyone because of my affairs. So, in order to compensate the captains, I am willing to strengthen the strength for you and do my best. As soon as this word came out, everyone looked at Chen Yang in bewilderment. He thought that Chen Yang was planning to take the opportunity to annex them. Now it seems that the situation is different from what they imagined. Seeing that the time was right, Chen Yang took out a stack of ironclad ship blueprints. I don't know if you know each other. Chen Yang obviously felt that everyone's breathing became heavy. Ironclad blueprint, someone exclaimed. Everyone finally understood where the drawings in the auction that shocked the Azure Sea came from. With a fleet of Dreadnought-class battleships beyond the times, it seems reasonable for Chen Yang to produce a large number of ironclad ship drawings. For a while, some people were happy and some were sad. Is Mr. Chen Yang planning to auction the blueprint of the ironclad ship here? But we really don't have much resources to do the auction. Yeah, we've only been in the endless sea for a few months, and we can't compete with those established forces at all. They all knew very well that the last batch of ironclad ship blueprints had been sold for sky-high prices. Not to mention a set of drawings, many people can't even afford one. I saw Chen Yang smiled mysteriously. Who said I'm going to auction? The auction is for outsiders, not our Blue Star's own people. Chen Yang used the word, person, very well, which instantly drew him into the relationship with these Blue Star newcomers. Some people even wished they could stand up and have with Chen Yang. I plan to sell these blueprints to everyone at the cost price. I only need 100 units of metal. Of course, if you really can't afford it, you can also get a loan. Loan, that's right, sign an official contract with me for the certification of the administrator of the Endless Sea, and sell it to everyone in the form of a loan, and it will not be too late to pay back the money when everyone grows stronger. As soon as this word came out, even Lucia, who had criticized Chen Yang before, couldn't help standing up. Mr. Chen Yang is serious. It's absolutely true. I have thousands of blueprints for ironclad ships in my hand. I plan to divide them into 10 parts. What do you think? The hearts of the representatives of the newcomers trembled violently. There were 1,000 ironclad ships, and the weakest Morning Star fleet was only a few dozen ironclad ships. As long as they get these ironclad ships, they will instantly become one of the most powerful forces in the Blue Sea. If they are willing to unite, it is not impossible to beat the number 1 Azure fleet. Mr. Chen Yang, I am willing to sign a loan contract with you. The first one to raise his hand was Aocean. As an ambitious man, it was always an expedient choice to join the Moon Fleet before. How many people are willing to endure the life of living under the fence? With these 100 ironclad ships, whether he came out to do it alone, or used it as a bargaining chip to increase his voice in the Moon Fleet, it would be beneficial and harmless. So it's also very positive. I am also willing to sign the loan contract. Edward took his chance and was the second to jump out. And I. The excitement of the crowd is indescribable. Chen Yang waved. 10 identical contracts appeared in front of them. Although the interest rate was more than 30%, almost no one hesitated to sign their names directly. Chen Yang put away the contract with satisfaction, and then used the Business Alliance portal to send everyone the drawings. Everyone, our Blue Star newcomers still have to be united. To be honest, I just went to the Endless Sea. As soon as these words came out, everyone was in an uproar. He has been to the Endless Sea. When, at the starting point of the Endless Sea, among the four seas, fleets like the Blue Fleet are not even counted as trash. There are countless large fleets, super fleets, and maritime kingdoms. We Blue Star rookies still have to rely on our own strength if we want to break into the world in the Endless Sea. While everyone was astonished, they also felt pressure in their hearts. Is the overlord of the Azure Sea territory just a random fish at the beginning of the Endless Sea? This news is really hard to digest. That's all I've said, please think about it. Voice just fell. Everyone was ejected from the conference room. Immediately after, several people came out of the next room. They are representatives of newcomers who claim to be followers of Chen Yang. They are newcomers who have followed Chen Yang all the way from the novice course to the Sea of Storms. Chen Yang's generosity, they saw clearly from behind the door just now. It is tight to worship and awe. Everyone, the reason why I don't agree with you to join my big boat group is because I am worried that you will be hurt because of me. It's just that I didn't expect Bai Song, an old dog, to bully people too much. If he can't beat me, he will bully you newcomers. Whether it is tolerable or unbearable, I decided to loan you 1,000 blueprints of the ironclad ship to fight against the hegemony of the White Pine Fleet. When several people heard this, they wished they could kneel on the ground and kowtow to Chen Yang. They were all so excited that they couldn't control themselves. Sir, you are so kind and virtuous, I will never forget it, and I will definitely continue to follow in the footsteps of my husband in the future. Chen Yang waved his hand. Stop talking nonsense, this Sea of Storms depends on your performance. If I am satisfied and let me see your strength, I will consider letting you join my team. Big Fleet. Several people trembled with excitement. He raised his head abruptly and shouted, Mr. Chen Yang must not be disappointed. Voice just fell. The conference room was dissolved by Chen Yang. When he opened his eyes, Orf was standing in front of him. Captain, this move of yours is too powerful, but you can easily grasp the situation in the entire Blue Sea with just 2,000 blueprints of ironclad ships. Those fleets will probably not be peaceful in the future. The old man admires you. The corners of Chen Yang's mouth twitched slightly. I'm a good person, look at this Blue Sea where the weak are preyed upon by the strong, who can be as generous and selfless as I am. It's really kind of me to lend money to these fellow villagers to buy ironclad ships and strengthen their strength. The girl Xiaolu lying on the side finally couldn't hold it anymore. I've never seen such a good person with a dark belly. Why do I feel that you are 100 times more cunning than the old Hongtu who collects rent at the port? Chen Yang turned around with a smile. Come here, little green, I brought you a present. What gift? Hearing the word, gift, the little girl ran over. As a result, Chen Yang grabbed her and raised her hand to spank her bottom. Girl, let you say that I have a dark belly, let you say that I have a dark belly. Ah, help, Grandpa Orf, help, the villain is beating someone. 3 hours go by. When the Blue Sea waves gradually calmed down, the storm surrounding the Sea of Storms completely stopped. Look into the eyes. There are some lush islands faintly visible on the sea ahead. There are also large ore islands, densely covered with stars, and the end cannot be seen at a glance. At this time, distance, the mighty white sailboat slowly approached the entrance. More than 30,000 advanced sailing warships, led by 300 ironclad ships, attracted everyone's attention. On the sails of the ship, 2 large characters of blue were written in the common characters of the Endless Sea. Everyone backed away, for fear of blocking the path of the strongest force in the Blue Sea. Immediately after, the other fleets that came rolling in came on stage one after another. With a gloomy face, he can't wait to eat the white pine. A black dragon with exaggerated tattoos all over his face. Dressed in a white gauze dress, the moon with red lips and winking eyes. Angry red-bearded man in tricorn hat and blindfold. The 7 major fleets all entered the field, as if they were going to perform a passionate martial arts meeting. At this time, a rickety boat approached and stopped in the area where the 7th fleet was. Although there is only one small boat, no one dares to underestimate this person. It was none other than the most powerful fleet in the Azure Sea, Qi Qian, head of the New Century Grand Fleet. He was dressed in a white fur suit, gentle and refined, with the air of an ancient knight-errant. He greeted the captains of the 7 fleets familiarly, like close friends. Facing Qi Qian's approach, some people still raised their heads proudly, some smiled and nodded, some ignored them, and some looked contemptuous. Rumbling. Nearly 100 ironclad warships approached with black smoke, and nearly 6,000 high-level sailing warships followed behind them. Under the cross-like anchor pattern, the big characters of the new century are particularly conspicuous. Some people's expressions changed slightly. Although there are slightly fewer sailing warships, the ironclad ships have indeed surpassed the weakest Morning Star fleet. The few captains who were dismissive just now couldn't help but take a deep look at him. This guy actually hides so deeply. At this time, the captain of the Blue Fleet standing at the bow, Lan Hao raised his head, raised the microphone in his hand, and preached to everyone through the huge loudspeaker on the mast. Since everyone is here, I will stop talking about useless nonsense, and distribute according to the previous share. What do you think? Of course, since the head of Qiqian has reached the fleet standard, I suggest that everyone share 20% of the rewards to show our welcome to the head of Qiqian. Everyone nodded. After all, their strength lies here, and they cannot be questioned. The captain of the Morning Star fleet looked gloomy. Although he was at the bottom of the list, Qiqian's appearance still dropped his ranking by 1 place. Although resentful, he did not dare to question Qiqian directly. Qiqian grinned. These fleets are quite knowledgeable about current affairs, which saved him a lot of talking. Lan Hao looked up and looked around. Since that's the case, do you have any other opinions? I have an opinion. At this time, far away, thick smoke billowed on the azure sea level, and a huge steel fleet marched mightily into the Sea of Storms channel. All the captains were shocked, showing a look of shock. Roughly counting, 30 behemoths with a displacement of nearly 20,000 tons lie across the sea. The ferocious gun barrel looked up to the sky, turned slowly, and aimed at the flagship of the 7th Fleet. Even Lan Hao couldn't help his complexion suddenly change. The surrounding voyagers backed away one after another, for fear of offending such an evil star. Rookie King Chen Yang. In just 2 months, the reputation spread throughout the Blue Sea. The White Pine Fleet, which has always been strong, has suffered a lot from him. Previously, it was just a guess as to what kind of confidence this rookie Chen Yang had against the second-ranked White Pine Fleet. Now when this invincible steel fleet appeared in front of them, everyone was shocked speechless. They have never seen such a terrifying steel fleet. In comparison, the ironclad ships of the 7th Fleet are as ridiculous as a matchbox. Old Dog Baisong, you have to be a bit of a man. The 7th Fleet is here for a meeting. Why are you here to join in the fun? As soon as he opened his mouth, he was ridiculed, making Baisong's blushing and neck thick. Chen Yang, you little fool, I've been looking for you for a long time, let's settle it today. Voice just fell. The tens of thousands of battleships of the Baisong fleet began to move, and they surrounded Chen Yang in a mighty way. Facing the menacing Baisong, Chen Yang waved his hand. In that case, let him show some color. Boom boom boom. More than a dozen battleships lined up, aiming at the White Pine Fleet tens of kilometers away. Everyone's faces changed. This newcomer Chen Yang did it as soon as he said it, without any scruples. The ear-piercing sound of cannons spanned dozens of kilometers, blooming in the center of the White Pine Fleet. For a moment, the explosion submerged the sails and the fire began to burn. Every step forward of the huge sailing fleet has to pay the price of blood. In just 5 minutes, thousands of unavoidable sailing warships sank into the sea, and countless people were injured. On the vast sea, only the sound of rumbling guns and those navigators who avoided it remained. Baisong stared blankly at the ruthlessly crushed fleet, and couldn't help roaring in a low voice, Chen Yang, you are finished, you are dead. Stop for a moment, little friend Chen Yang. Baisong, can you listen to the next sentence? Lan Hao stood up bravely and wanted to be a peacemaker. Baisong Hong roared with red eyes. Captain Lan Hao, Chen Yang and I are at odds with each other. He dared to disobey our Azure Sea Fleet. I suggest that everyone unite together, fight against the enemy together, and eliminate this thief together, so as to ensure our defense. Interest. To this, Chen Yang just sneered. What a borrowed knife to kill, but I, Chen Yang, hereby declare that this is my grievance with the old dog Baisong, and has nothing to do with others. Of course, if someone is willing to join forces with the old dog Baisong, I don't mind letting you have a taste of naval guns. Voice just fell. One roared angrily. Chen Yang, you fool with no hair, how dare you threaten my brother Baisong? I, Lakawa, will be the first to say no. Aside, the Lakawa fleet rolled in and stood with White Pine. Brother Lakawa, I'm very happy that you can stand by my side. This kid Chen Yang is so arrogant. Today, either he dies or I die. Ha 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 ha. Chen Yang laughed wildly. Don't think that you are the only ones who have helpers, I have them too. Voice just fell. A black cloud billowed in the distance, and it was only when they approached that they were shocked to find that a fleet of thousands of ironclad ships was overwhelming like a mountain, trying to crush everything in front of them. How can this be? The 7 major fleets were all dumbfounded, looking at the huge armored fleet in front of them with dull faces. Their scattered ironclads paled in comparison to this ironclad fleet. Newcomers, these people are all newcomers to Blue Star. Someone exclaimed, recognizing the leaders. The people who came were Edward Aocean and others, they were mighty and energetic. No matter how hard they think, how did these newcomers suddenly form a huge fleet of armored ships? Facing the rolling ironclad fleet, everyone retreated. Only then did they discover that the blueprint of the rookie's ironclad ship was exactly the same as the blueprint of the ironclad ship they bought. Why don't you understand? Where did those drawings come from? Lan Hao hurriedly stood up with a smiley expression on his face. Everyone, why make things so rigid? Peace is the most important thing. Bai Song here was about to say something, but was grabbed by Lakawa behind him. Do not impulse. Thousands of ironclad ships are difficult to fight against with his and Bai Song's strength. Even if the 7th Fleet and the New Century Fleet were all brought over, it would probably be enough. After all, Chen Yang's huge cannon ships are not easy to mess with at first glance. Chen Yang was very satisfied with the current situation, so he went straight to the point and said straight to the point. Since the rule of the Blue Sea is that the strong get more, how much does Captain Lan Hao think the fleet behind me can get? Lan Hao's forehead was soaked in cold sweat, and he never expected that in just a few days, Chen Yang would pull out a huge fleet of ironclad ships. The 7 fleets looked at each other. I'll say the number, 50%, what do you captains think? This word comes out. The faces of all the captains changed, and they wanted to take 50% of the shares as soon as they opened their mouths. Arrogance. Bai Song roared. I forgot that you old dog Bai Song is here. I suggest giving us the equivalent of the White Pine Fleet and the Lakawa Fleet. Anyway, there is no need for them to exist. How arrogant are these words? The expressions of the captains of several large fleets changed several times. Since that's the case, then it's settled. Of course, if someone is not convinced, we can go to war. The word, war, fell like a mountain, weighing heavily on the hearts of all the established forces. These rookies are not weak at all, and now they are full-fledged. How to start a war? It is destined to be a lose-lose situation. If there is a slight error, these old fleets of them have fallen from the altar, and there will be no place to stand in the Blue Sea in the future. Okay, since that's the case, on behalf of the 7th Fleet, I agree to Chen Yang's conditions, and the two parties will share 50-50. This word comes out. The newcomers looked at each other excitedly, and most of them said that they had spent 2 months in hiding and humiliation after coming to the Azure Sea territory. Why have you ever been so elated? Everyone's eyes locked on Chen Yang on the huge ship. He is indeed a person who can perform miracles. Chen Yang turned around. Dear colleagues, resources are divided into 50-50. Are you satisfied with this figure? If not, we can talk again. Everyone nodded quickly, and they still understood the principle of accepting as soon as it is good. After all, killing the fish and breaking the net is only the last option, and no one wants to stop there unless it is a last resort. Captains, please. Chen Yang stretched out his hand confidently, making the captain of the 7th Fleet feel as uncomfortable as eating rat feces. It was Qi Qian from the New Century Grand Fleet who sailed and approached. Mr. Chen Yang, hello, my name is Qi Qian, may I be lucky enough to walk side by side with Mr. Chen Yang? Chen Yang glanced at him. You want to stand by our side? The so-called those who know the current affairs are heroes. I personally believe in the strong. Also, I must remind Mr. Chen Yang that these fleets may not let it go. Chen Yang looked expectantly at the 7 fleets slowly sailing into the Sea of Storms. Oh, then I have to look forward to it. Big brother Chen Yang is mighty. I didn't expect that our Blue Star rookies would stand up one day, and we would no longer have to look at the faces of these fleets. Master Chen Yang, I want to give you a monkey. Go, grab the resource island. The World Channel was extremely lively, and outside the World Channel, mighty voyagers poured into the Sea of Storms. At this time, Chen Yang received good news from the system. Congratulations to the host, complete the task, find the treasure in the Grey Domain. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, Super Dreadnought Battleship Pre-Quest. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, 6 technology points. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward, Battlecruiser Derflinger. Is it finally here? The prerequisites for the opening of the Super Dreadnought Battleship. Chen Yang suppressed the excitement in his heart and tried to calm himself down. Click on the task to see that the predecessor task has been completed. The pre-task of the Roar of the Super Fearless Era has been completed, and the official task has started. The Roar of the Super Fearless Era. Enter the deepest part of the Sea of Storms and find the legendary Blue City. Mission Reward. The Super Dreadnought Battleship illustration book opens, a random Super Dreadnought Battleship. Task Reward. A random special technology. Task Reward. 10 technology points. Chen Yang clenched his fists, and the official task he had been thinking about had really come. Although I don't know what the so-called Azure City is, as long as you find it and occupy it, you can complete the mission and enter the era of super fearlessness. System, what is the Azure City? System prompt. The legendary City of Storm, the lost city of ancient times, is the only special building with many special functions. Chen Yang rubbed his chin. Is that the case? It seems that the 7 major fleets have not entered the Endless Sea for a long time, maybe they have other plans. But it doesn't matter, it's just the 7 major fleets, and now that I have full wings, I'm not afraid of these guys at all. System prompts. Congratulations on getting the Derflinger battlecruiser, do you want to claim it? Chen Yang rubbed his hands, but he didn't expect that the reward would be the famous ship of the Han's Empire, the Derflinger cruiser. How not to get him excited? This meritorious cruiser runs through the entire history of World War I naval warfare. Outstanding military exploits, full of legendary taste. Derflinger battlecruiser, shipbuilding program of the Han's Empire in 1912. Commissioned on December 7, 1913. Sunk the 21st of June 1916. Full load displacement, 31,200 tons. Length, 210 meters. Width, 29 meters. Draft, 9.56 meters. Full load. Main engine, 14 kerosene mixing boilers, 2 steam turbines. Power, 63,000 horsepower. Speed, 26 knots. Endurance, 5,600 nautical miles at 14 knots. Armament, 8 305 mm 12 inches 50 caliber guns and 4 twin turrets. Secondary battery, 12,150 mm 5.9 and 45 caliber guns in single mounts. Anti-torpedo boats, anti-aircraft guns, 1288 mm 3.5 and 45 caliber guns in single mounts. Torpedo tubes, 4,500 mm torpedo tubes, installed underwater, 1 at the front and 1 at the end, and 1 at the bottom of the A turret on both sides. Armor, 300 mm on sides, 63.5 mm on deck. Gun mount 296 mm, conning tower 350 mm. Crew, 1390 people. Chen Yang's eyes are only shining. The Derflinger class battlecruiser is definitely the crystallization of the advanced shipbuilding industry during World War I of the Han's Empire. Also known as Iron Dog. A cruiser whose survivability simply surpassed a battleship has become a legend. Do you want to summon the Derflinger class battlecruiser? No, now that there are too many people with mixed eyes, they did not directly choose to call the battleship Derflinger. At the same time, the illustrated book of the Derflinger class battlecruiser was also successfully lit up, which proved that he could use the illustrated book to create more Derflinger class cruisers. System, build 10 Derflinger class battlecruisers. System prompt. The order has been accepted, estimated manufacturing time, 10 hours. When placing the order, Chen Yang glanced at the order for 70 battleships that had been placed before, all of which had been completed and could be summoned at any time. As soon as he exited the system interface, Orf appeared in front of him. Head, the newcomers will disperse after entering the Sea of Storms. I'm worried. Chen Yang waved his hand. The opportunity is given to them. Whether they can make it to the end depends on their own ability. I can't be a nanny for them forever. Orf nodded in agreement. Beside, the girl Xiaolu lay on the side of the boat and held up a telescope to observe the surrounding situation. The one behind us named Qi Qian is still following us. I hate him. He looks like a villain. At first glance, he is not a good person. Do you want to drive him away? Chen Yang turned his head and glanced at the new Century Grand Fleet that Yo-Yo was following about 5 nautical miles behind his fleet. Unexpectedly, the fleet dominated by sailing warships on the opposite side can also run at a high speed of nearly 20 knots. Always able to keep up with the pace, there should be some special talent and equipment for speeding up. Chen Yang didn't bother to pay attention to the new Century convoy. For him, the mission was more important, and the most important thing was to find the base island. With a wave of his right hand, fleet speed up and move forward at full speed. Minutes passed. The two fleets separated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Sea of Storms is indeed Sea of Storms. The refreshment of the resource island every 2 years is enough for all the navigators who enter the stormy sea to earn a lot of money. Chen Yang has encountered many resource islands along the way. Wood, metal, rock, fresh water. There are even special resources, such as fruit and vegetable islands. The big forces will occupy a sea area and seize the most abundant area of the resource island. As for the scattered people, they can only take a detour and go deeper into the Sea of Storms to find opportunities. Look, there is a fruit island in front of you. There are orange trees on it. There are a lot of yellow oranges. Let's go to that island. After entering the Sea of Storms, the little girl was in a state of excitement throughout the whole process, and she felt strange everywhere. Chen Yang waved his hand. The fleet is indeed short of fresh fruits. This orange island can supply a lot. The rolling waves approached the island led by dozens of giant steel ships. As soon as he arrived at Orange Island, the Maverick ironclad ship on the opposite side of the island attracted Chen Yang's attention. Ocean, Chen Yang asked. Leader Chen Yang, please don't blame me if I miss you. Wait for me here. The other party smiled and nodded. While speaking, Chen Yang began to command the sailors of the fleet to disembark and go to the island to pick up oranges. What's the matter? Peeled an orange and threw it into his mouth casually, with a look of enjoyment. Then he raised the orange in his hand. Do you want to? The other party was about to refuse, when he saw 2 oranges flying across a distance of several hundred meters onto his ironclad ship. As soon as you reach out, you can easily grab it. Concealing the shock in his heart, this Chen Yang is really extraordinary. In the past, he considered himself the newcomer king of Blue Star, but later he found out that he may not be the only one who has been favored. According to what I know about the 7 fleets, they will never let it go. Although they were intimidated by Captain Chen Yang's aura before, they will definitely make a comeback and attack secretly. I know. Chen Yang casually continued to stuff the peeled orange into his mouth. Then you still, whether they are coming from Ming or Yin, I will take all the tricks, because under the absolute strength, any conspiracy is futile. Head Chen Yang, I don't know if I should say something or not. But it's okay, there are no outsiders here. Chen Yang still had a cheerful appearance, appearing harmless to humans and animals. I think, Captain Chen Yang's reliance is these powerful Dreadnought-class battleships that transcend the times, but what if I tell Commander Chen Yang that the 7 major fleets have the equipment to defeat these super battleships? Oh, Chen Yang raised his head. This is indeed very interesting news. Please explain clearly. Aocean is a little proud. It seems that you, the rookie king, are not afraid of everything. According to the time I joined the Moon Fleet, I learned some anecdotes. This group of fleets has accumulated strength in the Blue Sea for decades, and it's not just the power on the bright side. It is said that they also have war fortresses and special underwater submarines obtained from the depths of the Sea of Storms. These words made Chen Yang squint his eyes. This is indeed interesting news in a whole card. He looked at Aocean with great interest. Selling out your boss is not something that a gentleman would do. Aocean didn't change his face. It's just mutual benefit, it's not a boss. I came here this time because I am willing to act as a bait for you and break the alliance of the 7 fleets. This is even more interesting. What is he plotting? Yes, what is he planning? A rookie who was pretentious in the novice area, but in the end he chose to live under the fence. For such a person, although Chen Yang can't say that he hates it, he definitely can't say that he likes it. Why? It's very simple. You and I both know that only by completely defeating the 7th Fleet can we newcomers have a future. Don't look at the newcomers' 1,000 ironclad ships, but to be honest, I don't think this can shake the foundation of the 7th Fleet. Aoshin's eyes were burning. In the Blue Sea, only you are qualified to compete with the 7 fleets, so I must borrow your strength. You are straightforward. Chen Yang spat out the orange seeds in his mouth, and looked back. Only a bare piece of the huge orange island was left. There were not even orange trees left, and they were all cut down and moved away. Aoshin lowered his head slightly. I know very well that the Blue Sea is just a starting point, and the Endless Sea is the real challenge. If you can't accumulate enough background in the Azure Sea territory, you will be just an unknown person if you go to the Endless Sea. What's more, if this plan is completed, you can still get a favor from you. Why not do it? Quote. Chen Yang began to admire this guy's penetrating tongue. What's your plan? Breakthrough, Lakawa Fleet. You will find someone. After the Lakawa Fleet is eliminated, the White Pine Fleet is also difficult to support. The other fleets have their own ideas, and it is difficult to completely unite together. Chen Yang bowed his head in silence for a moment. I'll think about it and give you an answer tonight. The opponent nodded slightly, and the ironclad ship started, heading into the depths of the Sea of Storms. At the bow, Chen Yang stood side by side with Orf. Captain, this Aoshin probably has other plans. Orf made a judgment based on years of experience. I know, but if not, how can we gather these guys together and eliminate them? At this time, the World Channel exploded. A message resounded through the Blue Sea. All navigators, please note that the stormy sea vortex appears, and the base island has a chance to appear in the sea vortex. The moment the reminder sounded, all the voyagers in the Sea of Storms raised their heads and looked towards the deepest part of the Sea of Storms. Is it finally here? Chen Yang muttered to himself. Aside Orf decisively issued an order. The whole ship obeys the order, 40 degrees southeast, and advances at full speed. The fleet, which was still in a state of slack just now, instantly became a state of being wound up. The resource island is precious, but the base island is the real purpose of his trip. The nearly 50 ships in the fleet turned around rumblingly, and then headed towards the center of the Sea of Storms. The vortex of the sea, as the name suggests, only appears in the huge vortex in the center of the Sea of Storms. Sail warships below level 3 without independent power should stay quietly in the safe area, otherwise they will be easily drawn into the bottomless abyss by the vortex of the sea. The next day, only then can it reach the vortex area. No hesitation, Chen Yang's fleet plunged directly into the vortex. This vortex is bigger than imagined, and there is no end in sight. The edge is slightly weaker, and the sailing warship can also try its luck. On the periphery, there are countless precious resource islands, densely populated. Along the way, Chen Yang came across many coveted resource islands. High-purity metal mines, sulfur pools, coal islands, oil pools, etc. Sure enough, the essence is in the deepest part of the Sea of Storms. After walking through the vortex for most of the day, Chen Yang did not find a legendary 823 base island. It is also unwilling to send 10 high-speed destroyers to search around. Somewhat disappointing. By the way, is this base island so hard to find? Chen Yang lay helplessly on the side of the boat, looking at Xiaolu who was studying hard from time to time. Orf said, according to the gossip, every time the Sea of Storms opens, there will be at most 10 base islands in the vortex of the sea. 10 seats. So few. Not only that, because of the special attributes of the base islands, all base islands have the ability to camouflage. What do you mean? Chen Yang asked puzzled. As the name suggests, the base island will be disguised as a normal resource island. Only after landing on the island will you be prompted to confirm that it is the base island. Hearing this, Chen Yang subconsciously glanced at the star-studded resource island in the sea vortex. There are hundreds of resource islands as far as the eye can see, and there will only be more in the vortex of the vast sea. Wanting to search island by island is simply a dream. Let alone 2 months, even 2 years are not enough. Is there any other way to quickly identify? It is said that the biggest difference between the base island and the ordinary resource island is that the bottom is hollow, and it is an island floating on the sea, so. Sonar. Chen Yang became excited. Passive sonar is probably not enough, active sonar is needed. Chen Yang quickly sank into the system, opened the research interface, and then directly pulled to the sonar column. The passive sonar column has been successfully unlocked, and Chen Yang shifted his target to the active sonar. Do you want to consume 3 technology points to unlock active sonar? Yes. Although it was very expensive, Chen Yang couldn't help feeling distressed and unlocked it decisively. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unlocking the active sonar technology and starting production. Build 200 active sonars first. The system has accepted the order, and the estimated production time is 4 hours. The reason why so many are made is because Chen Yang intends to upgrade all the 150 destroyers that have been manufactured but not yet summoned. U-2A submarines can also take the opportunity to upgrade. With active sonar, you can actively hunt and kill those submarines hiding on the seabed, and send them into the seabed with depth charges and mines. After exiting the system, Chen Yang said, I use the Predator trading system to buy a lot of active sonars, and we can upgrade our ships when they arrive. Active sonar. That's really great. With active sonar, you can use sonar to scan the surrounding islands. It's clear at a glance whether it's a resource island or a base island. During the waiting period, Chen Yang did not sit idle, but began to harvest the surrounding resource islands on a large scale. There are many sailors, so the harvesting speed is also very fast. Coupled with the assistance of the hoisting machine on the ship, the loading speed is also extremely fast. Vegetables, fruits, fresh water, these necessities of life must be filled first. The more metal resources and coal, the better. Sulfur (AFA) is collected in the sulfur pool, which is one of the materials for making gunpowder, so naturally we cannot let it go. With these basic materials, the system can save a lot of resources by exchanging shells. Wood resources Chen Yang does not need, a small amount is enough. In just 4 hours, Chen Yang almost emptied dozens of surrounding islands, and everywhere he went was like locusts passing through. On the way, I also met many scattered people who went forward bravely. After they saw Chen Yang, these gigantic steel giants, they wished they could hide away. Of course, there is no shortage of close ones. As a result, before approaching the fleet for 1 kilometer, he was scared away by the rotating barrel. How dare he approach the fleet? When the active sonar was successfully produced and was neatly summoned to the battleship, Orf was delighted. With these active sonars, it is possible to deal with submarines that may be present by the enemy. Fleet survivability is greatly increased. The destroyer equipped with active sonar runs more happily, quickly scanning the surrounding islands. Unfortunately, no progress has been made, and not a single base island has been discovered. Chen Yang is not discouraged. If it is so easy to find, then the 7 fleets should have found many base islands over the years, right? But the reality is that after dozens of decades of searches, there are only 3 base islands in the entire Blue Sea. Obtained by the Azure Fleet, the White Pine Fleet, and the Moon Fleet respectively. They are all established forces. With the blessing of the base island, the combat effectiveness will naturally rise with the tide. According to the information Aocean gave him, the 3 base islands can manufacture different special equipment. The special submarines and war fortresses mentioned before are the special technology guards from the base island. So far, the White Pine Fleet still hasn't revealed its trump card, and hasn't revealed the special equipment of the base island. There is a high probability that it wants to come to the next big one, which makes Chen Yang feel heartbroken. If Chen Yang is replaced by White Pine, the idea is probably the same. At this time, there is a private chat message. Is Aocean. At this time, did you discover the whereabouts of the Lakawa fleet? Click on the information, and sure enough, the action route of the Lakawa fleet. Captain Chen Yang, the target has appeared, please decide whether to take action. Chen Yang sent a message, where is the White Pine fleet now? It's unknown at the moment, so I don't rule out the possibility that this is a trap, but I won't come again when the time is right, and please think carefully about it, Chen Yang. Seeing this, Chen Yang narrowed his eyes, is it finally coming? But before that, let's listen to the old man's opinion. He told the old man the information sent by Aocean, and looked at him expectantly. The leader is worried that it will be a trap, right? That's right, the Lakawa fleet is a loyal ally of the White Pine fleet after all, and I'm worried that the Nispine fleet will ambush around. The old man glanced at Chen Yang. Even so, I think the leader still wants to seize this opportunity, doesn't he? Chen Yang grinned. The one who knows me is General Orf. Now that the leader has made a decision, what I need to consider is how to win. In my opinion, the key to victory lies in a quick word. Quick, as the name suggests, quickly approach the enemy, quickly attack, and quickly retreat. Let the enemy be overwhelmed, too late to defend, and even too late to call for reinforcements. In my opinion, if speed is the factor that determines the victory of a warship, then it is like Bismarck, the Iron Prime Minister, once said, the truth is only within the range of the cannon. The speed and range are all in my hands, so my subordinates believe that this battle can be won. Chen Yang touched his nose. Orf's plan is very simple, it is fast. Take advantage of the speed advantage of the fleet and the range advantage to perform fast attack and rewind. Don't give the White Pine fleet a chance to encircle and attack. Okay, since that's the case, then it's settled. Chen Yang replied to Ao Tian, saying that he will arrive soon. After all, the fleet began to head north, rushing to the destination as quickly as possible. At the same time, the submarine, which is the trump card, has also been successfully equipped with active sonar, and the detection range has been greatly enhanced. For the use of submarines, Chen Yang has always been very cautious, so far no one knows his trump card. When necessary, a lore strike will definitely make those guys drink a pot. At the same time, a vortex area densely covered with resource islands. An ironclad ship is slowly sailing out. Hundreds of ironclad ships in the rear kept aiming at this ironclad ship until it was out of range. Captain, why don't you kill this weed? This guy just wants to provoke a war between us and Chen Yang, so that he can reap the benefits. Lakawa snorted coldly. Blue Star's rookie navigator has good aptitude, and after the opening of the Sea of Storms this time, it is destined to usher in a big explosion. So, we must not only see the present, but also the future. It's better for Blue Star to have more scumbags like Aocean, so that our 7th Fleet can control the situation. You see, decades have passed, the strong will remain strong, and the weak will remain weak. This is the eternal truth of the endless sea. The first officer next to him looked at his captain with admiration, and couldn't help but compliment him. However, he said with some worries, but Master Captain, Chen Yang is really difficult to deal with. You must know that he single-handedly destroyed the Qingshui Island fleet. And those powerful battleships, with our strength, I'm afraid. Lakawa was still expressionless. It was just a trick. Hundreds of thousands of mines were used to trap Qingshui Island to death, and to catch turtles in the urn. Only then did the Qingshui Island fleet be wiped out. If you meet me, it will not be so easy. His warships are indeed powerful, but they are only a few thousand ships. As long as he dares to come, Brother Baisong's secret weapon will definitely make him unable to eat and walk around, never returning. At the same time, Lakawa connects to Baisong. Brother Baisong, the news has been confirmed, that Chen Yang has come towards our fleet. Soon, a reply came from the other side. Very good, if you find Chen Yang's fleet, be sure to hold him for more than 3 hours, I will come as soon as possible. Lakawa was a little excited. Brother Baisong, as long as we successfully annihilate that Chen Yang, catch this guy, and force him to find out the secret of his ironclad blueprint, then we can quickly form a huge fleet of ironclad ships. Such mad poetry, don't talk nonsense in the future. Although Chen Yang is not a tiger, leopard and lion, he is still a wolf. My Qingshui Island fleet was destroyed because of this. You give me a good army to prepare for war, and be alert and ready. Don't worry, Brother Baisong, I have deployed observation ships hundreds of nautical miles away from Fangyuan in the fleet. No matter which direction Chen Yang approaches from, I will be able to detect and respond immediately. The other side was silent for a moment, then nodded with satisfaction. After so many years, Lakawa has finally grown up. Very well. Keep investigating and don't give Chen Yang any chance. The communication was hung up, and Lakawa's face was a little smug. Humph, Chen Yang, come on, come and let you see how powerful the pocket array of my Lakawa fleet is. Night falls. The sea of great storms began to calm down. The day's waves and rough torrents are calmed down. After all, this is the vortex area of the sea, and the speed of several scout submarines sent by Chen Yang is also slightly slower, wobbling into the observation circle of the Lakawa fleet. Periscope rises. Chen Yang observed the observation ship that had already been detected by active sonar. An anchored Tier 1 galleon. The lights on the battleship were brightly lit, and bursts of laughter came from time to time. It should be a lively sea part. On the high-mast observation platform, there are 2 observers who keep observing the surroundings with binoculars. It's just that the night is dark, and this observation distance is really not flattering. Along the way, he has found 7 or 8 similar observation ships. An average of 1 ship every 3 nautical miles, arranged in a dot matrix, blocking everything within 100 nautical miles of Fang Yuan. Anyone who wants to break in cannot escape the eyes of these observation ships. I didn't expect to become smarter, so this is not good news. Chen Yang touched his chin. Even for the fastest destroyer, it will take nearly 3 hours to advance at full speed if it wants to approach Lakawa's fleet. Sink these observation ships. Only a fool would do that. The moment the opponent is attacked, they will use the communication channel to notify Lakawa in the rear. The same is still exposed. Old man, the situation is not very good. The Lakawa fleet has deployed a large number of observation ships within 100 miles of Fang Yuan. Once the fleet enters, their whereabouts will be locked. How to break the situation? There was a moment of silence on the other side. Leader, I suggest that we can come to a place where we can bloom in all directions and make a sound. 0. Blooming in all directions, hitting east and west. Orf explained. Didn't Lakawa arrange a huge depth zone? We will be discovered if we attack from any direction, but what if we attack from all directions at the same time? Chen Yang thought for a while. In this way, he will completely lose his way. That's right, we use this method to confuse Lakawa's perception, and then use the method of slamming east and west. Please explain in detail. Send the battleship fleet to attack from the front, and then use the high-speed cruising Derfflinger-class battlecruiser and V-type destroyer to bypass the target, ambush the enemy's rear, and catch the Lakawa fleet by surprise. This set of tactics is mainly to make full use of the powerful speed advantage of the cruiser. With the speed bonus of the commander's talent, the speed of the Derfflinger cruiser can reach as high as 41 knots. This is our absolute advantage. The old man deserves to be a legendary admiral of the World War II, with rich experience in naval warfare. Such things as the formation of troops should be left to an expert like the old man. Okay, this plan is approved. Tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning, launch the attack on time. Chen Yang glanced at his watch. It was 8 o'clock in the evening, and they still had 7 hours to prepare. Order issued. Chen Yang summoned another 30 V-type destroyers to cooperate with this battle. Their task is to carry out the four-sided blooming plan and attack the observation ship from all directions at the same time. The purpose is to snipe out the eyes of the Lakawa fleet. At the same time, 10 Derfflinger-class battlecruisers and 20 V-type destroyers pulled out a huge arc outside the defensive circle of 100 nautical miles, with the purpose of blocking the passage of the Lakawa fleet to fight and retreat. After all, this time it is a frontal battle. Without the assistance of mines, the flexibility of the Lakawa fleet has greatly increased. The possibility of blocking them together for centralized elimination is very slim. If you use battleships to call names one by one, it will consume too much and it is not cost-effective at all. At the same time, Chen Yang sent more than a dozen destroyers to search for the location of the White Pine fleet. According to his estimation, the White Pine fleet should be nearby, and the Lakawa fleet should be at the horns of each other. The two sides take care of each other, and can support the other party as quickly as possible without delaying the collection of resource islands. As time goes by little, by around 12 o'clock in the evening, the basic layout has been completed. However, Chen Yang did not launch an attack immediately, and the 340 continued to wait until around 2 o'clock in the morning. 2 o'clock in the morning. It is the time when the sailors are the most sleepy and the fleet's reaction power is the lowest. Attacking at this time can catch the opponent by surprise. Coupled with the lack of night vision capabilities of the Lakawa fleet, Chen Yang's fleet was able to launch attacks beyond visual distance. In the battleship Koenig, it was so silent that a pin drop could be heard. Little Green looked at the chart excitedly, while Orf put his hands behind his back and stared at the dark horizon. At the moment when Chen Yang gave the order to attack, Orf directly gave the order to the fleet. All destroyers obey orders, prepare to attack, use lightning strikes, and try to finish the battle as quickly as possible. Orders were quickly passed on to the destroyers. The destroyer, which is free from the observation ship, launched an attack on time as soon as it received the order. The command has issued an order, prepare to attack, and launch 2 bursts of 533 mm torpedoes. The destroyer had locked on to the observation ship 3 kilometers away, and the torpedo launcher on the deck ejected 2 533 mm torpedoes violently. One in front and one in the back, they rushed towards the target at every turn. It wasn't until the torpedo successfully hit the observation ship, and the flames soared into the sky, illuminating the entire sea area, that the destroyer continued to start and moved towards other observation ships. At this time, among the flagships of the Likawa fleet, Likawa immediately received the news that the observation ship had been attacked. Report to the captain. Observation ship number 38 has been attacked. Ship 38. Likawa looked down at the nautical chart. Observation ship 38 is located in the northwest. Likawa snorted coldly. Sure enough, it's still here. He was about to give an order, but the news that came next made him restless. Report to the captain. Observation ship number 75 has been attacked. Report to the captain. Observation ship number 46 has been attacked. Report to the captain. Likawa quickly glanced at the chart and raised his brows. Attacks came from all directions. Do you want to disturb the audition? This Chen Yang really has 2 brushes. He raised his head abruptly, and shouted an order. The entire fleet obeys the order, the enemy troops attack, and the entire fleet enters combat mode. Anyone who retreats or disregards the order will be dealt with by military law. Voice just fell. The fleet, which was still a little scattered, started to move, and set up a formation according to the predetermined tactics. At the same time, Likawa contacted Baisong immediately. Brother Baisong, Chen Yang's fleet has arrived, please hurry to help. In just 10 seconds, a reply came from the other side. Hold on, I'll be there soon, and I'll make sure that this guy never comes back. Likawa got the promise, and he was full of confidence. Looking forward to the arrival of Chen Yang. The information kept coming, and in just a few minutes, dozens of observation ships were destroyed. It was equivalent to being constantly poked blind in one eye. It was already late at night, and the visual distance was extremely limited. Losing the observation ship, he almost became blind. Listen to my order. The second batch of observation ships will be sent out for me, and the vision of the entire fleet must be guaranteed. Likawa is not a fool either. The other party chose to destroy his eyes, so he naturally has to replenish them in time. Otherwise, the enemy will only find out when they are in front of the eyes, and it will be too late. Report to the captain. An enemy super battleship has been found. How many? What direction? About dozens of ships, 25 degrees east-northeast. Is it coming? Everyone listened to the order and dispatched a death squad of 1,000 sailing warships to actively meet the target warships in batches. Remember, try to keep a sufficient distance to prevent being concentrated by the enemy. The reason why they are called death squads is that these warships are filled with gunpowder and oil barrels once they collide at close range. He believed that even Chen Yang's super battleship couldn't withstand such a close-range explosion. In the battleship Koenig, Orf also received battle reports from the front. News of the destruction of the observation ship continued to come in. At the same time, an unexpected news came that the Likawa fleet not only did not retreat, but chose to take the initiative to attack. The expendables. Orf guessed Likawa's mind at once. If it's just to die and delay time, then he doesn't have to. Death that cannot pose a threat cannot achieve a strategic effect. The destroyers attack and sink all these sailing warships. Dozens of returning destroyers began to attack their targets like wandering assassins. At the same time, it didn't wait for these sailing warships to approach a distance of 10 kilometers. The secondary guns on the King-class battleship also began to attack. The shooting distance of more than 10 kilometers is assisted by the artillery radar upgraded by Chen Yang, spending the last 3 technology points, and the shooting accuracy is greatly improved. After a test shot, after corrections, the second and third shots can basically hit accurately. Today, Chen Yang's C-beat radar has a detection range of more than 25 kilometers. It is more than 3 times the original detection distance of 8 kilometers. Really worthy of great use. If it weren't for the slightly expensive price and high power consumption, Chen Yang would like to install this radar on every battleship. Boom! A shell accurately hit a Death Squad battleship, and the shell hit the oil barrel stored in the cabin. Boom! A 100-meter mushroom cloud soared into the sky, illuminating the dark sky. Such an explosive power is not just as simple as being killed. Chen Yang, who saw this scene in the submarine, couldn't help cursing. Lakawa, do you want to use these rotten wood to die with my battleship for 30,000? Old man, hit me hard, and you must not let a sailing warship approach. The sound of sacrificial explosions continued to sound. The dark sea was illuminated by the fire as bright as day. Dozens of destroyers are at the front, and other battleships are output in the back row. Just the auxiliary guns make these Death Squad battleships sink into the sea one by one. It is impossible to get close to the fleet within 5 kilometers. In this situation, Lakawa's face was ugly. He thought that he could pull Chen Yang's advanced warships into the water with this kind of ship-to-sea tactics, but he didn't expect that he was the real clown. In less than 40 minutes, thousands of sailing warships turned into lighthouse torches floating on the sea in the flames and slowly sank into the sea. Withdraw, all warships retreat. Lakawa is not a fool. Consciously invincible, choose to retreat immediately. Try to delay the time as much as possible, wait for the reinforcements to arrive, and then the two sides will encircle and completely wipe out Chen Yang's fleet. The plan is good, but the dream is very full, and the reality is very skinny. In the eyes of the legendary World War II Admiral Orff, these small tricks are not worth mentioning at all. The enemy starts to retreat, and the sniping starts. Try to destroy the enemy's ironclad ships as much as possible, and focus on roaming attacks, keep a distance. Order issued. The battlecruisers who had been ambushing the Lakawa fleet's retreat for a long time began to open their sharp fangs. Derflinger-class battlecruisers not only have the powerful firepower of battleships, but also have the powerful speed of cruisers. Certainly, the slightly weak armor is its Achilles heel. But in the cross-age naval battle, this shortcoming is no longer a shortcoming. This makes the Derflinger-class battlecruiser the most versatile pinnacle battleship in this sea. Report found that the Lakawa fleet is retreating, 25 kilometers away from our fleet. Take the initiative to attack, and launch an attack after entering the maximum effective attack distance, so that the Lakawa fleet can go first and the end can't take care of it. Clear. The voice of receiving orders came from the ships of the Devereaux 5-ringer battlecruiser. The fleet took the initiative to attack and led dozens of destroyers to act together. At this time, Chen Yang in the submarine received the task of the system very timely. Ding! The system starts a new mission, the destruction of the Lakawa fleet. Destruction of the Lakawa fleet. Destroy the main combat force of the Lakawa fleet before the Lakawa fleet successfully waits for reinforcements, or destroy the flagship of the Lakawa fleet and kill the Captain Lakawa. And successfully evacuated before the arrival of reinforcements. Time limit: 3 hours. Mission reward: a random destroyer. Mission reward: 4 technology points. Mission reward: a piece of special captain equipment. Is there a new mission? The rewards are also very rich. But it sounds quite risky. Why? Chen Yang stroked his chin, pondering. Required for a limited time, this proves that the background of the White Pine Fleet will pose a huge threat to my fleet. I am more and more curious about what the White Pine Fleet's trump card is. Muttered to himself. The voice of the submarine captain came from the side. Commander, we have penetrated deep into the enemy's warship, should we retreat? Withdraw. Withdraw what? Search for the location of Lakawa's flagship for me, and I will personally send this shitty fish to the sea to feed the fish. Yes, the captain roared, raised the periscope decisively, and began to search the surrounding warships. However, finding a flagship among the tens of thousands of warships is simply as difficult as climbing the sky. After all, Lakawa is not like others. His own flagship can be any one, even an inconspicuous first-class sailing warship. Just as the Lakawa fleet sent more death squads to block the attack of the Chen Yang fleet, they were struggling to approach the White Pine fleet. However, he didn't realize that his back had already been exposed to Chen Yang's cannon. After entering the effective range of the naval guns, the 10 Derfflinger-class battlecruisers immediately launched an attack. Flames spewed out, and piercing screams accompanied by rumbling shelling resounded throughout the ocean. Boom, boom, boom. Although at this distance, the range of shell scattering is huge, but as long as a 305 mm high explosive shell hits, even a super sailing warship can't stand it. What's going on? What's going on? Lakawa yelled. The sudden attack on the back of the fleet was something he never expected. Report to the captain, the enemy did not know when they bypassed our detection range and went to the rear of our fleet. Lakawa slammed the table. How is this possible? In such a short period of time, even if the small grasshopper-like destroyers of the Chenyang fleet can complete the encirclement of us, they will definitely not be able to stop the tens of thousands of warships of our Lakawa fleet. Rush over to me. However, the voice just fell. The sound of booming explosions rang in his ears. 500 meters away from the flagship, an ironclad ship was hit by a 305 mm armor-piercing projectile in its ammunition bay, and the explosion caused the ammunition bay to explode. The entire ironclad ship with a displacement of 6,000 tons was blown to pieces in the flames. The firelight reflected on Lakawa's frightened face. His flagship just now was the ironclad ship. Fortunately, I was cautious and replaced the flagship in advance, otherwise the consequences would be disastrous. Reporting to the captain, according to the news from the battleships behind, there are 10 steel warships with a displacement estimated to exceed 30,000 tons blocking the fleet's back route. 30,000 tons. Lakawa felt as uncomfortable as eating a bunch of dead flies. Just when he sent a large number of high-speed sailing warships equipped with steam auxiliary power to rush up, the opponent's warship moved. Although these powerful and terrifying steel behemoths have a displacement of up to 30,000 tons, their speed is comparable to those of those small ant destroyers. Can you imagine a 30,000-ton giant ship running at full speed, reaching a terrifying speed of 41 knots? These warships can still move and the shooting accuracy has not dropped much. It was as if a pair of magical eyes helped them to cross the distant darkness and find the battleship several kilometers away. Explosions continued to sound, and these, high-speed, sailing warships could also run at a high speed of 20 knots. In contrast, it is not an opponent of the same level at all. Captain, what should we do now? The fleet commander was also a little confused. Now that he was under the enemy's back, he didn't know what to do. Form a defensive camp and break out from other directions. Lakawa knew very well that the fleet must not be blocked by Chenyang's dozens of warships and massacred here one-sidedly, otherwise defeat will only happen sooner or later. But for the choice that Lakawa may make, Golf has long been prepared. Report to Commander Orff, the mine-laying mission of the fleet has been completed. Very well, prepare to retreat, don't scare our little cutie. Yes, although this time because of time constraints, the sea area is wide, and the threat of sea mines has become smaller, it does not hinder its terrifying deterrent effect. Talking. Bang. A 4th-level sailing warship touched a mine, and the 100-kilogram charge mine instantly tore the hull of the battleship apart. The hull shook violently and began to twist and deform. It creaked and began to enter the water crazily. Shui lei, you lei. The bad news reached Lakawa's ears again. Mines. Could it be that Chenyang, who is so predictable, has already seen through my plan? No, it's impossible, it's absolutely impossible, it must be a coincidence. Immediately after, several more warships struck mines, sending these sailing warships to sink into the vast ocean on the spot. Only then did Lakawa suddenly wake up. Stop retreating, all warships shrink the defensive circle, stick to the defense line, and wait for reinforcements to arrive. Order issued. The huge fleet began to operate, forming layer after layer of defensive circles. Seeing the change of Lakawa's fleet, Chenyang smiled, he waited for this time. Reporting to Commander, Submarine 334 spotted a suspected Lakawa fleet flagship target. At this time, an unexpected news reached Chenyang's ears. Hard work pays off, have you finally found it? Report the situation. Chenyang suppressed the excitement in his heart. According to observations from multiple boats, it is very likely that the No. 102 sailing warship of the Lakawa fleet is the flagship. The surrounding battleships are dispatched under the command of this flagship, and a 6-layer defensive circle is formed around it. Number 0102. Chen Yang remembered seeing this sailing warship just now. Unexpectedly, this guy Lakawa is quite capable of hiding. He even gave up the rough-skinned and thick-skinned ironclad ship and chose a sailing warship with weak defense. Is this doing the opposite and confusing his vision? Indeed, without the dragnet screening of more than a dozen U-2A submarines underwater, he would have been fooled. Ready to lock on to the target, ready to launch torpedoes to sink the target if given the opportunity. Yes, at this time, Lakawa didn't know he was being targeted by Chen Yang. Facing catastrophe. He was in a hurry to contact Bai Song. Brother Bai Song, I have been surrounded by Chen Yang, this guy hides his strength, my fleet is invincible, and we need reinforcements quickly. Soon, a reply came from the other side. Lakawa, I'm Bai Song, my fleet is on its way to your fleet, please hold on for 2 hours. 2 hours, Brother Bai Song, don't say 2 hours, the enemy's firepower is too strong, I'm afraid 1 hour is enough. If you want to win, just do what I say. This time, Chen Yang, the little fool, will definitely be unable to bear it. So, I can rest assured, Brother Bai Song, I will try my best to delay. Voice just fell. The 5 U-2A submarines locked on his flagship have quietly opened the torpedo tube sealing compartment, waiting for Chen Yang's order. The top of the head. The shadow of the boat is burning, but no one knows that these ghosts lurking in the deep sea have approached quietly. Reporting to the commander, our boat has locked on to the target flagship with a bearing of 30 degrees east by south and a distance of 1,200 meters. Other boats are already in place. Chen Yang moved his gaze away from the chart, raised his head, and his eyes were burning. All warships stopped firing. As soon as the voice fell, there was no more cannon fire in the radio communication. What's going on? Why did the other side stop? Has the shell run out? The enemy retreated. Various voices resounded in the Lakawa fleet. Lakawa, who was planning a defensive strategy, couldn't help rushing out of the captain's room and appeared on the deck. What happened? Report to the captain, the enemy's shelling has stopped. Lakawa stared at the dark sea around him, and couldn't see anything clearly in the darkness of more than 200 meters. But for some reason, he always had the feeling of being stared at by a pair of terrifying eyes. Sudden, he seemed to realize something. Come on, they found my flagship. Immediately roared. The left rudder is full, and the other battleships shrink and move closer to me. Voice just fell. He saw a torpedo speeding through the water, heading straight for his flagship. There are torpedoes. Lakawa was terrified, and his roar became hoarse. But it's okay. Because this torpedo was discovered in time, it was dodged by the warship twisting its body. The 533mm heavy torpedo swept past his flagship. After continuing to slide for 500 meters, it hit an unlucky ship. The violent explosion sent this first-class sailing warship into the bottom of the sea in an instant. Before Lakawa breathed a sigh of relief, the observer's terrified voice sounded. No, Captain, another torpedo is coming. What? In what direction? Lakawa asked. We are surrounded on all sides. Lakawa looked down desperately, and his flagship was completely surrounded. At least a dozen torpedoes struck from all directions, completely blocking all the escape routes of his battleship. Chen Yang, you little fool, you really think highly of me. With a bitter expression on his face, he raised his middle finger at the sea angrily. Lakawa refuses to accept. Boom boom boom. More than a dozen torpedoes hit the target one after another, setting off dazzling flames on the sea. This moment, everyone in the Lakawa fleet stared blankly at the flagship that was torn into countless pieces in the explosion. They couldn't believe that the enemy could find the captain's flagship among thousands of troops. They finally understood what the shelling that had just stopped meant. That was the signal of the death knell. They looked at the captain whose name had completely turned gray, and heard the sad news that the captain was dead and the fleet was about to be disbanded. Next second, the fighting will of the entire Lakawa fleet collapsed instantly. Listen to the rest of the Lakawa fleet, your captain has been successfully sunk by me, surrender now, and you will be spared. Chen Yang's two-sentence surrender announcement became the last straw that overwhelmed the Lakawa fleet. When the first battleship slowly raised the white flag, the second ship, the third ship. They are very clear. The captain is the soul of a fleet, and without the captain, a fleet would lose its meaning to continue to exist. Less than 10 minutes, 99% of the warships were all flying white flags. Those who intend to resist are named one by the underwater submarines, and all these guys are sent into the sea to feed the fish. Right here, the Blue Sea area full frequency announcement sounded. Captain Lakawa died, the fleet was destroyed, hereby announce. Captain Lakawa died, the fleet was destroyed, hereby announce. Captain Lakawa died, the fleet was destroyed, hereby announce. 3 world announcements shocked everyone in the Blue Sea, including White Pine, who is trying to get to the battlefield. How is this possible? The Lakawa fleet was destroyed. This must be the coldest joke I've heard in the past few years. Who can tell me that the administrator made a mistake? What's the situation? Did I not wake up? Did something happen to the Sea of Storms? What happened to the Lakawa fleet? Seeing the chaotic discussions on the World Channel, Bai Song's lungs were about to explode. How can others not know what happened? Waste, waste, waste. I couldn't last for 3 hours, and I lost my life in just 1 hour. Lakawa, you let me down so much. He roared and punched, smashing the table with a bang. Captain, what should we do now? Good Li Jiao. Should we continue to the battlefield? The adjutant next to him asked worriedly. He also just got the news that the huge fleet was destroyed. How long has it been? Go, why not? Chen Yang, the little fool who killed Lakawa, will come and kill me next time. The idiot Lakawa must have exposed his whereabouts and gave the opponent a chance to hunt and kill the flagship. Otherwise, let alone tens of thousands of warships, even tens of thousands of pigs are enough for 3 hours. Bai Song suddenly looked up. Order the Air Force, take the initiative to attack, target the Chen Yang fleet. Yes, voice just finished. There was a strange humming sound overhead. Many people in the White Pine fleet raised their heads, intending to search for the strange sound in the air. At this time, a long oval airship came into view. The humming gradually increased. Looking back, densely packed black airships covered the entire sky. Just as the World Channel was making noise, Chen Yang had already started to evacuate the fleet, and he didn't intend to give that old dog Bai Song any chance. Moreover, just after a big battle, all warships need to be replenished. Shells, coal, fuel oil. Only in this way can we be prepared for the next battle. Congratulations to Voyager, successfully defeated the Lakawa fleet. Do you want to plunder its supplies? This is a tip from the administrator. Is this even a question? Of course it is, sure. Yes. As soon as the words fell, Chen Yang saw the rapid increase of various resources in his warehouse curry. Worthy of being one of the 7 great fleets, Lakawa has the potential to be a hamster even though his hips are stretched. Various resources add up to 3 million units. Such an amount has surpassed what Chen Yang harvested in Qingshui Island. If it weren't for Go being a mouse in the novice area, he couldn't buy things from the Endless Sea, or he could use these resources to enter the Endless Sea and become a well-off class. What surprised Chen Yang the most was that Lakawa had hoarded a lot of fuel resources. It doesn't make any sense to put this thing in the blue waters dominated by sailing warships and ironclad ships. It was probably Lakawa's preparations for entering the Endless Sea, and now it's all cheap Chen Yang. Orf's flagship drove straight to the surrender of the Lakawa fleet. The white admiral uniform made this aged veteran full of majesty. The sharp eyes scanned the surroundings, and wherever they looked, the sailors and navigators who stood on the deck and surrendered bowed their heads, not daring to look at him. Commander, what are you going to do with these guys who surrendered? Resources have been plundered. Killing them is a waste of shells. Let them go. Chen Yang has no interest in these defeated generals. Except for the remaining dozens of ironclad ships, other sailing warships set sail and scattered from all directions after receiving the pardon. The Lakawa fleet is gone, and they are now disorganized people. In the future, everyone will live in peace. Withdraw. Chen Yang waved his hand, and all the warships turned around to gather. Before the sailing warships left, they took the lead and disappeared into the vast sea. Because of the existence of the vortex in the sea, it is basically impossible to trace the navigation track. Soon, there was a strange hum in the sky. This weird sound caught the attention of the defeated Lakawa fleet. What is that? Everyone looked up and looked at the huge airships floating in the sky in horror. The White Pine Fleet logo stands out. Someone hurriedly waved. Master Baisong, we are willing to follow you. Please allow us to join the Yusong Fleet AFAE. However, What greeted them was not a welcome, but iron bombs that fell from the sky. The ear-piercing screams fell from the sky, and in the horrified eyes of Lakawa's remnant soldiers, the bomb penetrated the wooden deck and exploded inside the battleship. Rumbling. The sound of explosions is endless. Flames filled the sky, covering the entire deep ocean. The roar of anger and unwillingness continued to sound. Bai Song, you fool, you actually attacked us. We are allies. However, more bombs greeted them until the sea was completely ignited. The howling sound was everywhere, like a piece of purgatory on Earth. Under the sea, a U-2A submarine slowly dived into the water and left this purgatory quietly. At the same time, Chen Yang, who received the news for the first time, was also terrified. Fortunately, it was withdrawn early. Otherwise, the consequences will be disastrous. He also didn't expect that the whole card of the old Baisong dog turned out to be an airship. It is very similar to the famous Zeppelin flying boat during World War I. It's just bigger and flies higher. It is worthy of being the special equipment produced by the base island, and the visual flight altitude can reach 5,000 to 8,000 meters. Although his own battleship has anti-aircraft weapons, it is not professional after all. Not to mention the V-type destroyer, its main function is to expel enemy torpedo boats, and its ability to threaten units in the sky is almost zero. Although Chen Yang is not afraid of these slower flying airships protruding head-on. But once these airships are caught off guard and break through the air defense circle, they may suffer huge losses. While lamenting the wiseness of the system, he rejoiced that he ran decisively. Now that you know the opponent's whole cards, you won't be so passive when you meet next time. Chen Yang glanced coldly at the red sky everywhere. The bombing continued. The old dog Bai Song didn't even intend to let go of his former ally, and vowed to drain the last trace of flesh and blood from this ally. At this time, the system's pleasant notification sounded. Congratulations to the host, the mission has been completed, the destruction of the Lakawa fleet. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward, Fletcher-class destroyer. Chen Yang rubbed his ears to make sure he heard correctly. System, are you sure the reward is a Fletcher-class destroyer? Host, you have obtained a Fletcher-class destroyer, do you want to call it? Chen Yang couldn't help getting excited when the notification sounded again. Fletcher, the king of air defense destroyers. Fletcher class, the most famous model of air defense destroyers during World War II. The system sent me such a reward at this time, is it because of the threat of airships? Next second, Chen Yang denied this possibility. If it was just the threat of the airship from Baisong Lagu, there was no need to move out such a powerful air defense destroyer. Does this mean there are challenging aerial threats ahead? Chen Yang unfolds the data of the Fletcher-class destroyers. Fletcher-class destroyer. Lighthouse States 1941 shipbuilding program. Construction of the first ship began on June 2, 1941. Entered into service on June 30, 1942. Full load displacement, 2,500 tons. Length, 114.76 meters. Width, 12.04 meters. Draft, 5.5 meters. Power, 2 high-performance steam turbines, 4 oil-fired boilers, twin shafts and double propellers. Power, 60,000 horsepower. Speed, 38 knots. Endurance, 6,620 nautical miles at 10 knots. Armament, 5 Mk 12,127 mm 38 caliber naval guns. 3 twin 40 mm Bofors cannons. 7 to 10 single-tube 20 mm Oerlikon machine guns. 5 533 mm launch tubes 1 to 2. Radar, SC-type air search radar, SG-type sea search radar. Crew, 353 people. This is the Fletcher-class air defense destroyer, a fleet air defense iron hedgehog covered in spikes. System, place an order for 50 Fletcher-class destroyers first. Now that Chen Yang has no shortage of metal resources, he must quickly arm himself first. With this batch of air defense destroyers, the pressure they face will be much less in the face of possible air threats. Congratulations to the host, get 4 technology points. For science and technology, the more the better, I wish I could get 100 or so at a time. In this way, you can upgrade all the equipment you want to upgrade, and unlock all the illustrated books you want to unlock. Finally, it is the special captain's equipment rewarded by the mission. Congratulations to the host, you have obtained the Golden Captain's Guide Sword Handle. Command Sword. Voice just fell. A golden command sword fell from the sky and fell into Chen Yang's hands precisely. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.